Thank you for calling Super Mario Brothers Plumbing. It's me, Luigi. And if you need service, please text us at the same number you just called, 92955-MARIO. That's 929-556-2746. Message us about any issues wherever you live, house, condo, mansion, and we'll be sure to text you back right away, because at Super Mario Brothers Plumbing, we don't say let's wait, we say let's go. Oh, and check our website, smbplumbing.com. We're still working on it, so more updates to come. Bye-bye.
Who disrupts my coronation?
Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak. I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
What's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, and well, it is the day after the big game, which means me and my co-host from the lovely city of Kitchener is...
Alex, that's a weird-ass way to introduce me.
Know,
Alex, the producer.
I was trying to think where to go with that, and I just kind of ran out of steam, but honestly, it is the day after the big game, because for some reason, I think, actually, I've heard this for many years, you can't call it the Super Bowl for legal reasons if you're advertising something, which is really weird. That's why like an advertisement for like, it's the big game special.
Yes, it has to be not just approved by them. I think it has to be sponsored by
the NFL.
So if you'll notice, the only thing that was called that is the Apple Super Bowl halftime, Apple Music Super Bowl halftime, because they sponsored the Rihanna thing. But also it can only be called Super Bowl commercial or ad if on the Super Bowl they call it that.
Yeah, because every spot that shows up online called it the big game spot or some variation thereof.
I think it literally can't be called that unless it's on their channels. Like if it was on the Fox YouTube channel and Fox is the ones, hosting it, or if it's on the Super Bowl channel, they can call it that. But yeah, everything. It's always the big game one. Even, when they do the Stanley Cup ones and they sometimes have commercials for that. I'll see the electronic press packages for it. They call it something different too.
I think it's more for the NBA as opposed to the NHL, because more people watch the NBA. But yeah,
no, but the NHL, like when Canadian commercials, when they make like Tim Hortons commercials,
yeah.
I think they just call it like something cup. It's not the Stanley Cup. They call it something cup game or something as a code name for their commercials. And you're right. The NBA doesn't. MLB doesn't. They don't have like code names for their commercials because it's not as big as it used to be. Maybe
you get some big trailers occasionally during the baseball finals, but not as many as you might think.
Yeah, March Madness, you get a bunch of interesting trailers and stuff too. Sometimes.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, if you haven't guessed by now, this week's edition of TWIG is going to be mostly talking about the Super Bowl's commercials. And just full disclosure, that's going to be exactly what we're going to be talking about during our entire news segment. This week we found was a little light in some ways, but there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to break down.
Yeah, and I mean, we could talk about spy satellites and balloons and stuff, but what's the point if everybody else is talking about that stuff?
I was about to say, yeah. I mean, the only interesting wrinkle is this stuff got shot. The most latest UFO, because I don't know exactly what it is yet.
They're legitimately calling it a UFO.
Yeah, because they don't know what it is.
Not for aliens, but because they legit don't know what it was.
Yeah, this was actually shot down not too far from where I grew up, just about an hour north of me in Tobermory area. So that's interesting, to say the least.
Which is funny because in the States, all that they're talking about are the ones that were shot over the Yukon and the one over Lake Huron, but they're not talking about the new one.
Yeah,
so there's actually been not 4 in the last week and a half. There's been 5 because of this one that was just shot down here. That's 3 in Canada. Well, I guess the Lake Huron one was ordered to be shot down over Canada, but they actually shot it down in the middle of the lake, so it's like a border thing.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's 3 within Canada in the last and it really just, I know this is the opening of the show and we're not really talking conspiracy stuff, but if you were going to test the waters for seeing what a country's capabilities are for detecting these things, makes sense to come over the North Pole. There's a lot less stuff that traditionally there was a lot less sensor stuff up there.
There's a friend of mine who's former military, and we were talking yesterday, and he's like, if you wanted to give some information out with all the eyes on the Super Bowl, now wouldn't be a terrible time because you'd have 35 million people plus watching. So this could potentially be them testing the waters. But that's conspiracy theory shit.
See where my brain goes, dude,
Mm-hmm.
is they pick it up and they realize that, this was supposed to be like a viral ad campaign for the Super Bowl. It was supposed to float down there. And, they had it said there were streamers off the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm.
What if the streamers were originally holding a sign that just said, hey, eat ass every day? but it's probably a little more nefarious than that. But
Probably. But anyway, so yes, as we often do off the top of the show, we often talk about what has happened in the week in our personal lives. For myself this week has just been a lot of work. I've been doing a lot of work with the newspaper that I've been working for. I've been busy writing articles. I have a midterm due at the end of the week, which I really haven't started. I guess that's what I'm doing tonight. That's been pretty busy. Big news, actually. So I got an email this last week from a publication that I've been working with, and I'm going to be a published author probably by the summer or the fall of this year, as soon as I sign my releases today. So don't let me forget, Alex. I should be all published. I should have copies of the book.
By don't let me forget, Alex, does that mean in about a couple hours I've got to send a text message to both you and Blair to be like,
please print this off and sign it?
Blair, Michael wanted me to remind him, but that means you have to remind him.
Yeah, one way or another, make sure that I get this done.
The backup is, as long as I message both of you, I have a text trail that I can prove that I did it.
Exactly. So that's very, very exciting. It's going to be about some of the poetry that I've been performing at the Guelph Spoken Word thing, which I'll be performing at again this weekend in Guelph. So that'll be pretty exciting. Other than that, I haven't really been playing a whole lot. I'm just going to be beginning a game, which you'll hear on the show next week. That'll be Metroid Prime Remastered. I'm just starting to play that. Nintendo sent that over. I did a bunch of reviews. I've reviewed every toy I've gotten from Hasbro. No, that's not true. I have one more to record today, which is probably going to be something you'll hear in next week's show, if not in the coming weeks, because Alex also has Turtle Treasure. So it'll show up somewhere, I assure you.
The idea was, if we're going to be busy and we also have a box of review stuff, let's just review everything we can right now, and some of it's evergreen that we can hold on to for the next week or two.
Exactly. So just get it done, get it out of the way, because the Dungeons and Dragons movie is coming up in March, and I got a couple toys for that, so we'll be talking about that. Other than that, though, I really haven't been playing or watching a whole lot. Actually, no, that's not true. Confession time.
Are you being dumb and just playing more Dragon Ball that I don't understand why you like it?
No, well, that I am, because I'm waiting for the new DLC for Xenoverse, and I'm still working through the Bardock stuff. But no, the thing that I've been doing, I have now watched every single episode of Gordon Ramsay's US version of Kitchen Nightmares, and for the cherry on top of this, I found out what has happened to every single restaurant that was featured on that show. And
Oh,
there's
God.
some really weird rabbit holes on that. In fact, there was one guy who stole money from his son because he was left it in a will because his dad was a very notorious mob boss. And
Oh.
holy shit, murder, suicides, arson, the whole kit and caboodle. And they couldn't cook a fucking burger. Other than that,
I think everybody remembers like the Amy's Bakery one.
oh yeah, oh man, there's a weird story there too. They now live in Israel. Evidently, she can cook now.
Apparently, her thing was, it wasn't that she was bad at cooking; it was how horrendous they were at the front of staff stuff, like actually talking to customers.
Well, that and they ordered in all of their baking was bought. But she did learn kind of later on.
I thought she did the baking, but all the food was like frozen stuff.
For the vast majority of it, yes. Most of it was like store bought. All her stuff was like bought the day of or the day before. But she has learned. Her and her husband Sammy moved to Israel because I think that's where he's originally from.
Didn't he get deported? Like his green card got denied because he had a criminal history that they didn't report?
Yes, and she had some problems with social security or social insurance or something.
Basically, weren't they defrauding the government out of money because
something like that? Yeah, it was pretty significant.
So she probably can't come back either.
Yeah, it was intense stuff. I was like, wow, that's really interesting.
And remember, wasn't that one of the first like major viral TV show clips that blew up on YouTube? Like, back?
Oh yeah, like that was one thing where they got review bombed on.
Wasn't that like 09 or 2010? Like right when that was a big thing?
I want to say at the latest it was 2012 because the US version ended in, I want to say 2014 or something like that.
Yeah, it was somewhere. Yeah, you're right. So it was at least 10 years ago when like right when YouTube was becoming the place where like people
you could share clips and stuff.
Clips of TV shows and that could make the show more famous than it was.
But so like I said, there's some really interesting I think the channel I found a good chunk of stuff on. I think the channel's called Mermaid Cove or Mermaid Grove, and the guy does a lot of really interesting info. I also found, I think the other channel is called Film Insights, and there was one person I found out had actually passed away. I can't remember. Her name was Mama something, but she was a really nice lady who owned an Italian restaurant with her son. The son finally learned how to do things right, but it took a number of years. I think the place is still open. A lot of and here's something, and then I'll pass it off to you. One of the things that I found out, a lot of the places don't survive when they get helped by Ramsey because there's such a long period of time between the filming date and the air date. So there's that huge gap, and they may be in so much debt by the time Ramsey shows up. There's not a lot he can do anyway. I think something like less than 10% of those restaurants survive. Some of them do. Although, final thing I'll say, the UK version is way more brutal than the US version, and not every place gets a makeover. But Ramsey will tell you exactly what you're doing wrong, how to fix it, and he will not hold you back. He's a lot more vulgar on the UK version, but he's also much, much more funny. So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. Plus, I went to hockey, which was really, really good this week. We had a really bad showing on Saturday night versus the London Knights, but when you came over on Sunday, we won against the Petes, so that was good. So out of 3 games we played this week, we won 2, so not too shabby at all.
And so that's basically your busy ass week.
Yeah, as always, except Gordon Ramsay this time.
Yeah. For me, it was catching up on some review stuff, and then we came over for Alex's belated birthday fun time visit / Valentine's, which we won't get into.
Most hilarious card ever.
I made a not safe for work or life card for Michael, and as we tend to do.
My sister died looking at it.
Yes, it was worth it. And I finally got to play with the kiddies again, which is like that's the birthday present I want. Right?
Yeah, they were using you like a trampoline.
Yeah, like they were not afraid. Like I came in, they were in the hallway and they're looking at me like, who are you? Because, you know, I've only seen them, this is the third time.
Yeah, exactly.
I saw them when you first got them, or like within a week after you first got them. And then I saw them right after Christmas, and then I got sick for 2 weeks, and then we didn't see each other for like
over
6
a month.
weeks. Yeah, it was like almost 5-6 weeks. So they're like double the size they were before. And, you know, I sit down in the chair, say hi, and then they're deciding that, hey, we're going to climb up on you. We're all over you, give all the purrs, which is nice, and then jump off of you like a trampoline. They used my legs to like hide behind and attack each other. They decided that it would be fun times to just, I don't know, eat Uncle Alex's toes and feet. And so there's all that going on, as well as just in general, them running from across the room as fast as they can, jumping, hitting my knee, and reflecting off like they're Spider-Man or something, and jumping like another 5 or 6 feet in the other direction. You know, it's good times, but they are still babies, so they just like to eat like all of the computer cables. How many times are we like, hey, cut it out? They're looking at us like slowly going back to try to, no, don't do that.
Yeah, they're like, we've done nothing wrong. Don't lie to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, we got together, hung out. Like, you know, we're getting old, that when for our birthdays, we hang out and we spend like 2 hours going on Wikipedia and looking up what famous people grew up in the towns we've lived in.
Oh God, yeah.
doing that, and then listening to like lame music in the background, and just like
old people.
I think that plus the pandemic did it to us, right? Like, because visits were for like 3 years, few and far in between, that when we get together, we don't even know what to do with ourselves except just like do almost nothing and just bask in the joy of being with friends.
But say, yeah, we've like kind of reached that bizarre age now where it's just, you just kind of exist, and that's just kind of the way things are.
You're like, you want to play games? You want to do this? No, let's just like do nothing.
Yeah, it was a remarkably chill time. So
and
yeah, it was nice.
We had Blair's famous hamburger soup, which is odd. It sounds odd, but it's extremely tasty. And then we had little cupcakes, or a little cupcake brownie for our weight loss / diabetic friendly dessert birthday cake alternative. And then it was a head home day. Oh, and again, this is not going to be like important to anybody that's in the States, but there's a discount grocery store that opened up near me that turns out they sell a lot of stuff from the States you can't get here. So I stocked up on all the sugar-free things. So yay me. Again, very boring adult, getting close to midlife crisis aged birthday, but still fun.
That's kind of how I'm viewing channeling my inner Gordon Ramsay. I've reached that midlife crisis. I've literally become that picture of Bugs Bunny in the bathrobe with the big glasses and the stupid hat sitting on the lawn chair. That's me now.
Pretty much. Like, when we were starting to hang out 6 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had told me that this is what you watched all the Gordon Ramsay and you weren't paying attention to like geek or nerd things, I would have given you the look like you've got turds falling out of your mouth. What's wrong with you? And then, you know, yesterday you're like, I've watched all of the Gordon Ramsay stuff and it didn't faze me. And I went, oh no, I'm old now too.
I was gonna say, yeah, because you watch Call the Midwife with my wife.
That is our show. It's not for you. It's the one thing. Michael and I are best friends, and then Blair and I are girl British show friends. That is our thing.
We have.
She will send me a message. Have you watched Call the Midwife? I want to talk about it. Michael won't watch it with me. And I'm like, yes, I will watch it. Which, by the way, I have to catch up on. I missed last week's show. But then again, we do also watch The Last of Us, and I think as we get closer to, like, we're at the halfway point now.
Yeah,
I think,
over the halfway point.
Yeah, that's right, because only 9 episodes. We're definitely going to have to do a special episode to talk about that, and maybe other gaming related shows, maybe a prototype on it or something, because, you know, we don't want to go episode by episode, but like, I've been super impressed.
Yeah, like, it's probably the best video game adaptation that has been done, hands down. It's better than The Witcher. It's better than Cyberpunk.
Man, like
but we got a lot to talk about.
A lot, exactly. And like, how many? I've cried like almost every episode. I'm like, oh my god, I'm old and weepy.
So yeah, yes, I got
that's basically been our week. It's been a hodgepodge of just a little bit of everything, and then obviously now Super Bowl.
Yeah, so we are going to take a break here on ThisWeekInGeek.net before we dive into talking about the Super Bowl trailers. But we're going to take a brief moment here to take a look at one of the reviews that Alex is going to be featuring this week. And then I'll have a couple of toy reviews or something here on the show. Actually, no, it's going to be Alex review, toy review, and then Alex again. Either way, you're going to enjoy some good stuff that you may want to pick up or maybe not want to pick up. We'll be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I've been Mike the Birdman. He's been Alex, the producer. We'll be back, guys, right after this.
Our friends over at NISAmerica sent a review copy of Raiden 4 Cross MIKADO Remix for the PlayStation 5. This is the first time I've actually played Raiden 4. And you might be wondering, what is this? What's the cross? What's the extended name for? What this is this game had been released in the past on modern consoles, or modern at the time consoles. But what this adds is new remixed soundtracks. And I believe it had been published previously on the Nintendo Switch. And now with a new publisher, this is getting put out on the more advanced hardware, not just the Switch. So what do you get with it? More soundtrack options. Also, obviously, native code versions for PS4 and PS5. It runs at 60 FPS. There were some people saying that you could get it to run at 120, but apparently it doesn't seem to have that. There aren't any special DualSense functionality features with it. But it does have something that is not something that people necessarily talk about as often as they should, is it has PS5 activity card support. What that means is when you play the game and stop, if you were to hover over it and go over the game in the PlayStation's, or PS5 specifically's, operating system menu, when you look at it, it'll have activity cards showing how close you are to completing certain tasks, like how close you are to doing let's say getting a trophy, doing something. And that is probably was most prominent originally in the advertising for when the system was launching, and they showed off the Sackboys game, where they showed somebody clicking a button and you could sort of jump into that mode or that area and see if you can complete it, or it gives you tips, or it'll be like, you're 25% away from doing something. It's nice that they included that here, because not every single game, especially third-party titles, even include that. What it does is, it tracks your progress. So let's say that there's something that you're about to complete in overkill mode or arcade mode. If you click the activity card saying you're like 27% through, click that, it'll load the game almost instantly because of how fast the PS5 loads, load you right into that mode and get you started so you can continue on from that point to get that specific trophy, which is pretty darn sweet, actually. Now, as far as any other features that are included, it has like quick resume on other consoles too, and it loads again super quickly. But again, the only thing that was a bit of a downside is no specific controller features other than, you get your basic rumble, but it doesn't take advantage of the adaptive triggers or the haptic rumble, which is that's a little too bad. That's pretty much the only detractor that I have for this, is that it doesn't take full advantage of what the PS5's controller can do. Visually, it's got a bunch of visual modes and filters you can turn on, and backgrounds and side art, because it's a vertical shooter, and it's pretty straightforward. No crashes, rock solid frame rate. If you're a fan of the arcade shooters, especially the Raiden series or any other vertical shooter, you know what you're getting in for here. And it has the robust features that, as far as how it was ported, there's a bunch of different game modes. You can pick up and play fairly easily. You don't have to worry about the difficulty too much. There's enough customizability there as well. The text is easy to read on the screen. It's scaled well to pretty much any TV size. It's just a really good port of an arcade title with really good, remix, in my opinion at least, remix music added to it. So if you're looking for something to pick up, that to fill that niche void in your heart of old arcade shooters brought into the modern era, then I think you're probably going to like Raiden 4 Cross MIKADO Remix. It's all these long titles always get me tongue-tied, but still, I think it's a solid release. And pretty much any platform you play it on, PS5, Xbox, you're probably going to have no issues whatsoever. And it's also available on PC for those of you that prefer to play it on, Windows.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek.
News.
Welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman. He's Alex, the producer. I don't know how the Super Bowl should have went, but I can tell you that call in the last couple minutes of the game was complete horse shit.
Somebody's going to be people are going to be obsessing over the tape, analyzing it, yada yada. I don't know much about the sport, like about the individual plays and how it works with moving forward, blah blah, scoring. But what I do know is how to analyze a play-by-play tape, and when somebody says somebody's grabbed for holding, and somebody essentially taps the person and pushes them out of the way, that's not holding.
Yeah, that's like, really, guy? That's the call you're going to make in the most important game of the year with so much left to go? Nah.
I'm kind of surprised that the refs are able to show their faces without getting, shot in some of these states.
Yeah, because
of how serious people take these games.
Oh, yeah. Like, football is this... Again, this is just us as Canadians looking down. I mean, I guess you could say us in the Vancouver Stanley Cup thing. You people take sports entirely too seriously.
You know what? People think that it's when it's their team that it's they're losing, like themselves.
Yeah, and it's like a personal thing.
It's like, who lost? Somebody. Every person on the team that lost is worth like $50 to $100 million. Losing to a team that's just going to make another $50 to $100 million each.
Yeah.
For 2 or 3 billionaires that run the teams, and nothing is lost by a team who loses except advertising revenue for their city for the next year. Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
But I understand why people love it. I do understand why people get into the sport. Just I do worry when somebody makes that wasn't. In my opinion, and I have no skin in the game. I felt that was a bad call, from what I saw. Mm-hmm. That was, and to the point where when you hear the color commentators and everybody, where they're usually like all like boisterous and exuberant, when you hear them get very quiet and then say, and they're stammering over trying to figure out how to justify the call. It's like, oh, so what I'm seeing is probably what they're seeing too, and it's like. Somebody's going to get investigated over whether that call was like, is there money on the line for the ref? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and it's happened before in other sports in other countries where turns out the ref had a bunch of money riding on a team.
Yeah, and it was a little bit sketchy to say the very least.
And I'm not saying that's the case here. They go with what they can see, but if they have 30 cameras angles, that was not holding. But anyway, that's beside the point. And again, I'm only mentioning it because I'm not somebody invested in it. I don't care that much. It's just I look at it and go, that's going to be the talk of like sports news for the next few weeks.
I'd say, yeah, people are going to be talking, which is
at least. What was the stupid one last time? Was it Deflategate or something?
Oh yeah, where the ball was not inflated properly, and Tom Brady and I don't fucking know.
Millionaires arguing over millionaires when really it's just the fans that lose out.
Yeah, it's the Mr. Burns money fight. So we're going to talk about everything that happened in terms of popular culture at the Super Bowl this year. And there's a couple things we're going to talk about. The first one we're going to get out of the way is the big elephant in the room, which is Warner Brothers and DC's The Flash. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to start by saying this. I'm pleasantly surprised.
I'm going to say this. I'll say this right now. Fuck Ezra Miller.
Oh, yeah.
But this looks pretty good.
Yeah, like that's the weird thing. Like now I've heard through a couple other sources, and I think one may even have been the Hollywood Reporter, that Ezra Miller has made significant leaps and bounds in his treatment. But
don't believe that bullshit. That
of
is
course,
something
that's
PR.
PR speak.
You, Mr. Public Relations post grad.
Yeah.
You know exactly what that is. That is damage control.
Oh, of course, because
and
they want this to be positioned the best thing in the marketplace to make the shares go up.
If they've made consistent strides, why has Ezra Miller not been seen in public since the arrests?
Yeah, because if a guy like that has done real work, let's give them the benefit of the doubt for 30 seconds. Let's say they have done the work. If I was their PR rep,
why has there been not a single apology for the behavior?
I wouldn't let him near a microphone until just before the release, and even then he would have to be vetted by every executive and the studio doctors
through their publicist. Why have they not had a single? And I understand it's like admission of guilt can be a thing, yada yada yada, but if you're going to rehab and making strides, why has there been no leaks from the rehab center? No leaks from anywhere. No. Why has TMZ not found any evidence of this person going to rehab?
My guess is they're probably playing this, and this is my professional PR opinion. I think they're playing it remarkably close to the chest, which suggests to me several things. And this is pure speculation on my behalf. I'm guessing it's an extremely private, very well secured facility. If anything has been leaked to TMZ, my guess is the Terminator of lawyers has been approached to a lot of the well-known paparazzi sites and said, if you say anything, we will sue you into the ground.
But they can't sue if it's truthful.
That's true. But I have a feeling someone is swinging the proverbial death hammer out there. That's what I'm guessing. But you're right. Something should have been said by now, but they're probably waiting to see what happens because it's too close to the initial breaking story. My guess is if we see anything, April, maybe March, you'll see something come out because they're going to have to start doing press tours sooner rather than later.
Oh, I guarantee you Ezra's not doing the press tour.
Oh, for sure. Or they'll bring out Keaton. They'll bring out Keaton. They'll bring out Affleck. You might get him in press promo kits, like stuff that's been pre-recorded and pre-screened.
The two Batmans together would be a good PR move.
Exactly.
But at the same time, how does Keaton feel about his next movie being completely shit-canned by them?
I have a feeling Gunn may have something up his sleeve.
I think Gunn is going to use, seeing this, I think Gunn is going to use him. But Keaton, I know Keaton gets paid whether or not his movie comes out.
Yeah, like he's already got his money.
The only thing he would have an argument to say is, hey, at my age, how many more leading roles do I have? You know, you kind of fucked me on this by shelving my movie forever.
But yeah, I mean, if you're going to sunset me, give me something interesting. And I have a feeling we'll see some. I think we're going to see one more project out of this. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we already know that the Supergirl movie is with this person from it. I forget her name.
Yeah, I can't remember it either.
Now, if you're looking at it, if you were going to do the press junket tour for it, you're not going to have Ezra. I don't think you should have Ezra Miller.
You will not get him in front of a hot mic or a live camera. Will not happen.
No,
pre-recorded stuff, maybe.
Simply because even for Ezra's, taking out of account that I personally think Ezra's a piece of shit. Because a piece of shit is a piece of shit is a piece of shit. Being famous doesn't make you a piece of shit. Being famous amplifies the piece of shit that you are.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. You know what I mean? You fool me once, you can make a mistake, but assault multiple people and all the crazy shit that it's not even alleged, like there's evidence of this stuff happening, you're a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
But if taking that stuff out of account, and if this is a case of somebody actually getting mental help and taking somebody and putting them into this kind of limelight for the press junket is very bad for somebody's recovery.
Yeah.
So I would highly suggest against it, especially if the rumors of them reshooting stuff for the end of the film to kill the character off and never ever showing up again is true. You probably don't want that person showing up, because then what do they have to lose about bad-mouthing the movie?
Yeah, like I think whatever we see out of press junkets will be very, very, very telling.
The press junkets are going to be, I don't know how much. I think Affleck's probably in at the beginning and the very end.
Yeah,
maybe in the middle, the team up, Batman team up might actually happen. I think the press junkets you're going to see will be Michael Keaton and the actress that's playing Supergirl.
Yeah,
for almost everything. And you'll see Gunn doing stuff because he won't be doing the press junkets for Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
And even though that's his directorial movie, I guarantee you will not see him do that for Marvel.
I think you might see him on the red carpet.
Nope.
You don't think so?
Nope. He's the head of their main competition.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not just directing a movie for DC. He's the
everything.
CEO of DC.
Yeah.
You think Marvel's going to let him on the red carpet premiere?
Yeah.
He might now. He might show up. I know will be fucking pissed, but he will not be invited.
Yeah.
Or they may allow him to go to the premiere at like Chinese Grauman Theater, but he will not be allowed to be on a hot mic to talk during the press junkets, because, and again, we'll get a little deeper dive into the trailer for The Flash, but did you notice something about the Guardians trailer?
What?
His name doesn't show up.
Yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it,
not in the marketing, not in the end where they show like the credits for the movie or coming soon. No mention of James Gunn. And I was purposely looking for that, and his name is nowhere to be found because they are pissed that he left. Well, and I mean, he left because they screwed him over the first time. And then when they asked him to come back, he said, sure. And then DC was like, you want to be our CEO, where you're basically in charge of our entire, you're not just in charge of our programming, you're technically in charge of the entire comics industry on our end. And they're like, he's like, yeah. And then Disney's like, oh, fuck. But anyway, so this trailer, though, for The Flash, I thought it was going to be Flashpoint, but like time travel, it is, but it isn't.
Yeah, it's kind of Flashpoint light.
It's Loki. It's like Quantumania or Loki. Like it's Flashpoint, but he doesn't run back in time. He runs so fast he goes to another dimension.
Well, yes and no, because he goes back into the Justice League timeline, but when he does, it's kind of like, I'm trying to remember.
No, if you,
it splinters timelines. It's when you, it's Back to the Future.
Yes,
Ask Aaron.
Yes, but I've watched the trailer now like 5 or 6 times.
As have I.
Have you heard the way Batman's wording it to him? Like Ben Affleck Batman. It's and the way they're talking about he didn't just run back in time. They said, it's Michael Keaton's Batman. Why have you come to this world?
Because this is the one where my mom is alive.
It's not time travel. He's gone through to like Earth 2 or whatever. He has gone to parallel worlds. So they're merging a couple different Flash storylines into one, which is a smart way to do it. This is the way that they can get their multiverse of madness, and it is their multiverse of madness. So expect to see some weird cameos, I would assume, if not actors on camera, newspaper articles, or he'll see pictures. Expect to see like a newspaper article with like Jack Nicholson's Joker on it.
Yeah, or maybe you might see a Christian Bale Batman reference somewhere.
So yeah, it depends on how many. I think what's going to happen is things are going to fracture near the end, and we're going to get a Batman team up. There was already talk, weirdly enough, of Clooney showing up in a little cameo, and it's like
supposedly that's been debunked, but we'll see.
Again, and I think it's debunked as far as actor. I think we might see pictures.
Yeah, same here. Yeah,
like for instance, like if he's running through, or if the Flash is running through the what is it, the Speed Force, and you can see that there's little clips where he's like seeing memories in the Speed Force popping up beside him, like little, like basically windows into worlds. when he's searching for things, you might see things like other Batmans, or you might see something like he might see like the Flash from the 90s TV show. Like you'll see like a picture of the world sort of thing, but not anything new footage, like archival footage. I think if Clooney or Val Kilmer show up, it's going to be archival footage.
Yeah.
That being said, I really do think the two Batmans are going to have a moment together, and I think that's going to be a big surprise for people.
Yeah.
It was interesting, that they're not using Superman, and that's because of obviously we know what's happened now with the Superman contract. But can you think of anybody else that might show up from this connected? I don't think we're getting a Wonder Woman because we already know that contract's in doubt. Aquaman is a possible. There might be a reference to it because that movie's still coming, and that is still technically connected to this universe. I
don't think you'll see a Shazam reference. I don't.
No. I doubt it as well.
I think you might hear Barry mention what happened to Cyborg, and he might say like a one-off line, maybe.
Well, maybe, but do you remember James Gunn has made reference to that the Green Lantern movie has now turned into a TV show, and it's going to be a hub of what happens in their new connected universe. Do you think there'll be a tease of the Lantern Corps?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Like with him going through, like, is Barry going to get in shit for breaking the timelines and all this by the Lantern Corps?
I could see maybe the post-credits scene. Maybe, like, here's what I think might happen. You might see Earth Prime, which is where the new timeline is. You'll see, presumably, our Barry is gone, so Ezra Miller's gone. You might hear someone saying, well, now what do we do? And you might just see a green flash in the sky, a meteor strikes the Earth, and it's Abin Sur going, seek out one who can use the light, and then it ends with the beginning of Green Lantern.
Okay, we know Gunn's sense of humor, and we know he did some reshoots and some retooling.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we'll get a fake out Ryan Reynolds?
That might be really funny, actually. I could see that.
Like, when running through, if the world is being fractured, the universe is being fractured, and, Michael Keaton's character says you need some help or whatever in the trailer. Like, when he's running through and he's seeing things, do you think he's going to see, like, he's looking for universes where his mom survives? And he sees the universe with Ryan Reynolds, Green Lantern. He's like, ew, I don't want to go there.
That'd be pretty funny, actually. He's like, anybody but that guy.
he's like, oh, I got to get some help. I got to go to a universe where this, and he looks and it's the yellow poo monster, and he's like, ew, and he just runs away. And then you just hear like Ryan's voice in the background. No, don't leave me alone. Or something like that.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, watch it, like you, I've seen the trailer about 5 or 6 times. I've watched a couple of DC experts analyze it.
Yeah,
I'm more optimistic than I was.
Can I give you my my 2 conspiracy theory, Alex's brain works differently thinkings of how the movie's going to go?
All right.
One, we see, I have a feeling we're going to get a cameo from Brandon Routh Superman. We won't get, obviously, we won't get, what's his name?
Chris Reeve, because he's passed.
No, not
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. I think we're going to get a Brandon Routh reference in it.
I think that'd be pretty cool.
That's just a little tiny, little thing there. But I think, looking at the trailer, I think I know what's going to happen. I think our world, Barry, like, as in, like, the one that's from this, like, from the Justice League world, like the current Barry, I think he's becoming Reverse Flash. I think
they do hint at there's going to be a Dark Flash for sure.
They're in the trailer for like 1 second. You see the yellow suit Flash, which is like, isn't that Reverse Flash?
There is, but that's a different character. That Reverse Flash is a guy called Eobard Thawne.
I know from the
different
show,
guy, but there is a Reverse Flash who is literally a dark version of Barry.
I have a feel like, and we see that he's teaming up with like the naive Barry from this world or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think, and he's teaming up. I think by the end of it, he starts to become corrupted and very jealous.
I could see that.
And I think the ending is going to be both, like, he's gonna have to redeem himself or something at some point. And I think in redeeming himself or doing whatever, he has to basically, he's gonna have to kill himself before he does. Like, he's gonna have to go back in time and basically kill himself. And I know that sounds dark, but like, if not kill himself, like some sort of time cop thing where you know, two versions of yourself from the same timeline can't touch each other, yada yada yada, or you turn into goop and explode. I think that he's gonna have the butterfly effect realization that everything he touches turns to crap, so he's got to stop himself from doing things. And in saving the universe, in quotes, and the multiverse, he's going to die, and we're going to see him in the Speed Force. And I think the altered ending or the reshoots or post-credit scene are going to be Barry getting to see his mom in the Speed Force, because he's gone. He's become one with the Speed Force. Not necessarily dead, but ascended, or whatever you call it, right? Is going to be in the Speed Force. You get like the white light sort of thing where he gets to be with his mom and be happy. We're all going to shed a tear, be sad for him, but also happy. And then the post-credit scene is going to be the Speed Force's power transferring to the new Flash. Whatever character it's going to be. It's not going to be Barry.
Yeah, because like in the comics, there is Kid Flash, there's Impulse, there's the various versions of the Flash that have happened from other universes. I know there's been talk of Grant Gustin getting some kind of a cameo again.
And I think what we would see if we know we're gonna get more Batman, of Michael Keaton's Batman, is we'll see the speed. Like, I think that Earth Prime, the dilemma might be with the Green Lantern Corps, like you said, like they just won't have a Flash. It's like, and there's no Speed Force defender. But what I think is going to happen is in the Michael Keaton world, which is a world that didn't have metahumans or anything, right? I think that the Barry Allen Speed Force is going to transfer to somebody new, and that post-credit scene, you're going to see it happen, and you're going to see Batman basically swoop in and say, hey kid, we have to have a talk. And it's not going to be like a Justice League, but I think it's going to be like a substitute for having a Robin or having another one. We're going to set up the next Flash movie to literally be Flash and Batman.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's a way to have Michael Keaton in it, but not have to do all of the action himself. Or have to have too much CGI. If you have a more friendly, amenable Flash character that isn't problematic, and Batman. And that's where my thoughts are with this. I mean, I know I've gone pretty deep into it, but like, it's a 3-minute trailer and there's a lot in there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's going to be better than what people expect. I think it may be finally DC's answer to a Marvel movie. I think it's got the right cast, all things considered. I think it may have the right amount of heart, but it's hard to tell from a trailer. We'll wait and see. The next one we're probably going to talk about, only because it was so short, and there was a newer trailer released this week because I was able to find one. Transformers Rise of the Beasts. We saw, this was the Porsche sponsored spot. So this showed Pete Davidson as Mirage, which is different because in the G1 cartoon, he transformed into a Formula One race car. But here he talks. He looks pretty good. I'm actually a big fan of the robot model. All right, cool. Although, in my opinion, and there's a Twitter account on, well, Twitter, obviously, that was following the Rise of the Beast trailer thing. And he's like, he doesn't act like Jazz, which was played by the guy who played Michael Winslow in Family Matters in the original Michael Bayverse movies. And Jazz was Scatman Crothers in the G1. Either way, history. He does seem a little more like Jazz to me, but it's only because he's such a laid back character. I'm fine with this. I actually think this might be okay. I
don't like Optimus Prime having lips.
Yeah, the Bayverse movies have been weird when they give Prime lips. I mean, I like how his face guard comes out when he's in combat mode, but always
they
weird.
Move like organic human lips, like skin lips.
Yeah, it's weird.
And it would make more sense if you saw the hinges for a
him
robot. You know what I mean?
mouthpiece. Yeah, it's weird. Like I've never been a huge fan of it, but we'll wait and see. I think Ron Perlman as Primals, not bad casting. Michelle Yeoh as Air Razor.
The more I think about it, he kind of looks like a gorilla.
Yeah, he really kind of does.
He looks like a shaved white gorilla.
I don't know who's cast as Wheeljack. At least
you know what they should. You know what? Somebody out there, please deep fake Ron Perlman's face onto Brock Lesnar's body, and you basically have a human gorilla.
you basically have a real life Optimus Primal. Yeah, I mean, I think this movie will be okay. I think the big talk from what I've heard,
it's not going to be as good as Bumblebee.
No, I don't think so. But the big talk in the Transformers community that I've seen online is this might be the movie where Bumblebee dies. It looks like Scourge probably is going to kill him. One neat thing that I have noticed in the trailer, and you'd have to be a real big dork to notice this, Scourge's body, and he's the big red truck thing. His body is covered in Maximal symbols, Autobot, and Decepticon, and even Terracon logos. That's from everybody he's ever killed. Yeah. That's a nice detail that a lot of people probably don't appreciate yet. But now, I thought it looked really cool.
Would you believe that it'll have been like 5.5 years since the last Transformers movie?
Yeah, like it's so weird that they let this one gestate, and I'm honestly surprised they went with the Beast Wars storyline. But then again, at the same time, the series has never gotten unpopular. It's only it's stayed pretty consistent for fandom, and Kingdom adapted it on Netflix.
And for anybody that doesn't know, this is a standalone sequel to Bumblebee. It's a soft prequel to the 2007 movie, in that they're still not committed to making it a direct prequel.
Well, from what I've heard, it is a soft reboot. We'll have to wait and see, because I'm watching this with very close eyes.
Yeah, because like first one takes place in the 80s, Bumblebee is the 80s, or initially, right?
Yeah.
And then this is taking place, I think 5 or 6 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So it's taking place in like 94, 95.
Yeah.
And then if they make another one, will it be like 2000? And the crazy thing is, this is a $200 million budget. Like, they gave it a lot more money than I was expecting.
Yeah, like I know Paramount wants a success with the Transformers movie, because I know Last Night had disappointing returns, we'll say. Well, Bumblebee was fantastic.
You know who's playing Scourge, right?
Remind me again?
Peter Dinklage.
See, that'll be really good. And that's really good casting.
He's got an interesting voice. And I'm trying to think. I don't recognize anybody else. Cristo Fernandez as Wheeljack. Pete Davis as Mirage.
Fred. I think
Liza
Fred.
Cushy. Oh, Michelle Yeoh is Air Razor.
Yep. Michelle Yeoh's Air Razor. I don't know who's Wheeljack, and I don't know who's RC.
Michaela J. Rodriguez is Nightbird.
Yeah, which is
David
cool.
David Sobolov is Rhinox and Battletrap.
And for those of you that don't know, David Sobolov was Depth Charge, I want to say, in the original Beast Wars, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Take with raw energy right into your twisted spark. Take it.
I mean, this is going to be.
That still gives me chills for a kids show. RC is Liza Koshy.
I don't know who that is.
Name.
Yeah.
And then non-speaking Transformers, Bumblebee says is non-speaking in this.
He'll get something at the end.
And Cheetor's in it, who apparently won't be speaking either.
Which sucks. Now, as much as I know they wouldn't bring back Ian James Corlett, that would have been cool.
Again, you don't know. They might.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean that'd be really neat.
Non-speaking role could mean that they're literally going to use old clips.
I mean, I would love if they gave David Kay, who is the original Beast Wars Megatron. Just put him on a radio, just doing that. Yes, like that's all I want. And I'm very, very happy. Or give Gary Chalk, Optimus Primal, a line on like a television commercial saying, well, that's just Prime. Deals that in.
Give me some Blue Man Kuma, man. Like, give me some, Tigertron.
Yeah, like there's so many little voice clips they could throw in that would make the fans so happy.
With her playing RC, like it would still be nice if we had a cameo voice from Sue Blue.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Like there's so many things the Transformers franchise can do to make the fans happy. I mean, one thing I know a lot of us are not particularly thrilled about is the new Wheeljack design, because Bumblebee did it so right. And now we're getting this weird glasses thing. But then again, you look at Dark of the Moon and Q is essentially Wheeljack with the serial number scratched off. I don't know. Then again, who knows? Maybe that's his new Earth alt mode. Who am I to argue? Either way, I'm impressed.
I didn't know David Sobolov also was RoboCop and RoboCop Alpha Commando.
This is also true. Looking at other Super Bowl trailers, the Indiana Jones trailer. Okay, sure.
Didn't show much more, except it had an awkward sounding line from John Rhys Davies.
Yeah, we'll get them Indiana Jones.
But it doesn't sound, it sounded like, oh, he's winded.
Yeah, it sounded weird. And then like, remind me, you're still a Nazi, right?
It's like he forgot how to speak with the accent from 30 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, that movie, fine. There was a longer trailer released this past week or so. It looks okay. I'm going to see it. I know my wife really wants to see it, although I don't know. I think the Indiana Jones franchise should have maybe stayed gone after Last Crusade, because it felt like such a nice bookend.
This should be the last. It's got to be all CG. The man's like 80. Like,
yeah.
And I'm not trying to be ageist. Like, there's a difference between him at 80 and Stallone taking testosterone replacement at 80.
Well,
you know
plus
what I mean?
He keeps himself in prime shape too.
Yeah, like he's in better shape at 75 or 77 or whatever than most people are in their 40s.
Mm-hmm.
So like, whereas Harrison Ford aged like a normal dude, like, and he did not keep up with his cardio, so he looked old in 2005, and Stallone is 77 or 75 or whatever, and he looks like he's barely 60. So some people can do it, some people can't. It's becoming less and less believable. I would much rather see him return as Jack Ryan, as an old Jack Ryan in something.
Yeah, see, that'd be freaking awesome. I mean,
like, he doesn't have to do as much action. He could be the analyst and whatever. And when the action does happen, it's believable because he's an old retired analyst.
I mean, honestly, if I had my pick for them to adapt any John Clancy property that involved Jack Ryan, I would love to see them finally adapt Rainbow Six, like the book, which deals with a pandemic and experimenting on the homeless.
And
you could have
him be like the team leader analyst that puts together the team.
Yeah, he works together with another guy named John Clark and another person named Domingo Chavez. So you could have the young person be Ding. You could have John Clark working with Jack Ryan to help form Rainbow. And you could make it happen, and it could be.
And there could still be an action scene or two, and he's for the most part the field commander.
Yeah, basically,
or field ops.
Yeah, like he doesn't have to be holding an MP5 the whole time. Just he plans strategic operations. That's all it needs to be. And the Rainbow Six movie has been in development hell since like the mid 2000s. The last I heard. So
there was the D&D trailer for 30 seconds that didn't seem to add anything.
Yeah, we saw a couple of new shots of magic items being used. Like, okay, sure, cool.
Same with the Creed 3 one. It was just a couple of different shots, very, very little added.
Somebody said that Stallone confirmed in an interview that Rocky's essentially dead. I saw that pop up on YouTube, but that could have been a quote taken out of context.
It's out of context because he's still having a feud with the guy that owns the rights to it, even though Stallone wrote it. Because he didn't want. They were going to make a Creed 3 with him, and then the guy has been feuding. The guy that owns it has been feuding with Stallone for years. Stallone has been arguing in court that he should own the rights to it because he wrote it. And the guy has been stonewalling, and then he went around Stallone and worked with Michael B. Jordan to make the movie, and on the condition that Stallone wasn't allowed to be in it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying Rocky's dead until that guy that owns it dies, basically now.
Yeah, I mean,
and he's like 90 something years old, but he won't work with Stallone. So it sucks. I don't have any interest in seeing the movie.
I've liked the Creed movies. The first one I wasn't really sold on, but the second one I really liked.
Where they brought Dolph back?
Yeah, I was like, you know what? Maybe there is some legs in this franchise after all. I don't know. I really like Michael B. Jordan as an actor and as a director.
I think
you know what, man?
I think he's a little overrated. He plays roughly the same character and everything now,
Mm-hmm.
but he's still charismatic.
Yeah, like he carries that personal charisma on screen everywhere he goes.
Yeah, and there was a Fast the Furious one where they had one little scene for Fast 10. But again, if you saw the regular trailer, you saw basically that. And then we got the Guardians trailer. That's the last major trailer.
Yeah, and that one, this looks pretty cool. I like the fact that Adam Warlock is finally getting some play in the MCU. Yeah, it's about time.
The makeup seems a little, in my mind, a little off for Nebula and Gamora. I don't know why. It's I know they do different things for each movie, but the makeup looks a little different. But like, that's fine. It looks like it has the humor. It looks like Drax is getting killed in it.
Yeah,
the way they're setting it up, it sounds like they're setting it up for Drax to get killed. Maybe Peter Quill to get killed.
I think that may be what I'm getting at too. I think Drax and Peter are gonna go,
and then the rest might show up in other things, or they're splitting up or something. Mm-hmm. It's very much hinting towards that, but again, they could be swerving us. Which
it's guns, so we never know.
Yeah, so it's par for the course. That can happen. I think it looks good. It's going to be a swan song for his work with Marvel for the next, I don't know, 10, 20 years.
Yep.
Like, unless something dramatically bad happens and he gets really super fired for good from DC. But it's looking like at least 10 years he won't be back there. So that's interesting. Yeah, there wasn't really any other major... Oh, wait, there was the Mario trailer.
Which was really clever.
Yeah, they made that Mario movie trailer where they used the theme song from the 90s cartoon.
Did you call the phone number?
No.
I did.
Because I don't have long distance to the States.
Okay, so I called the phone number, and it's Charlie Day as Luigi giving you a plumbing commercial. He's like, hey, it's Mario Brothers Plumbing. Hey, if your sink's clogged, and I really hope it's not, you should probably call us for your apartment, condo, house, mansion. And he just kind of rambles on for like 2 minutes or so. It's actually really, really clever.
Is it a toll-free number?
No, it is a number that costs, but for the 2 minutes you do it, it is pretty entertaining. I'm going to try and capture audio for this later.
Now, I do have unlimited texting unless it's one of those pay texts, because it says you can text them at that number.
Somebody must have the audio online.
Because texting them, apparently they'll send you advertising text back or something.
I don't know if that works cross-border. I would think it might.
Yeah, I just don't want to do it and then find out I got to pay like $1 for every text I get back.
Yeah, like that's why it's a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm very surprised. I'm very glad, because you and I were talking when we were hanging out. We were wondering, is there going to be a Mario trailer during the Super Bowl? Because we're thinking so many hours.
Literally on the way home from your place,
the ad broke.
Ken messaged us and says, "Check this out." The ad broke early, and it hadn't actually posted to YouTube or anything yet. It was just, it had hit Twitter and Reddit.
Yeah. So like the Universal team and Illumination, they've got somebody in their marketing department who knows what they're doing. And I'm so grateful for you. Oh yeah. One of the other trailers, there were 2 trailers that were just for stuff that I thought were pretty cool. The Breaking Bad popcorn show is fantastic.
Yeah. I'll break into this. I did collect for our own edification. I got all of the commercials, and I'll skim over them here quickly. I know you didn't see all of them, but I can name a couple, and I'll explain to you what happened in them in case you missed them. And for anybody searching them out, there'll be
compilations.
Yeah. So this is in no particular order. There was the GM electric vehicle commercial with Will Ferrell, and it's all like movie spoof stuff. So it's like The Walking Dead, where he gets bit. It's for I think it's for Netflix. It's like Netflix, and Netflix is going to be using GM electric vehicles in all of their shows. It's like, that tells you something about the password sharing issue they've got if they're having to take sponsorships from GM for all of their shows now. They never did that before. But it was kind of a clever commercial where he gets bit by a zombie, and he inserts himself into different TV shows that they've created. So it's like him inside the Upside Down from Stranger Things, and that it was kind of clever. It was actually pretty well done. Did you see the Bud Light commercial?
I didn't see Bud Light. I saw the Busch Light one where they had Sarah McLachlan randomly show up.
I'll get to that, but the Bud Light commercial is Miles Teller, and I don't know who the whatever model or actress it is with him, dancing to the Cisco Networks hold music.
Okay.
And drinking beer. I was like, that's just odd. But yes, the Popcorners commercial is the one you were talking about.
That's really well done.
The Breaking Bad, and they got Tuco back, and he's like, "No, you make 7 flavors." And they like that was a really clever commercial. Only thing it was missing was, I guess maybe because they try not to have swearing. How great would it have been if they're like, how do they make all the different flavors? If he just yelled, "Science, bitch!" That would have been great, but they didn't. But it was very well done. T-Mobile made a commercial with Bradley Cooper and his mom.
That was really funny.
I was trying to see how much of it was scripted and how much of it was genuine. He was a little overreacting initially with her, and she was pretty much being herself. You could tell. They filmed some of the parts out of order, and rewatching it, I'm like, you can see he's a little over the top. Ayla, be nice.
Ayla, stop being a stupid cat. Get out of here.
I can hear her in the back. She's our guest star in like a whole bunch of episodes this past 2 weeks. It's great. But you could see by the end he was being genuinely like frustrated and also amused with his mom. That was good, and I was worried it was going to be really fake when it started, and it turned out pretty genuine. Because there's some parts where you can see he's overreacting initially, and then he's like the parts where he's sitting down at the table with her and he's trying to get her to read the teleprompter properly. He's legitimately laughing for real because he's like, "Mom, this shoot's gonna take for fucking ever. Please just read the teleprompter." "I am reading the teleprompter." And he's like, "Oh my god!" And I'm like, that's real fights that we all have with our parents. So that was a good one. There was an M&M's one with Maya Rudolph that I didn't find that great. It was like, man.
The avocado one was pretty funny, I thought.
Did you see the one with Ben Stiller?
I did. That one was funnier than the Steve Martin one, I thought.
Where he puts himself into like a bunch of different movies, like The Revenant, and then little clip of him doing his whole Zoolander stuff. Yeah,
it's like, or am I acting? Yeah, and I can't do the Zoolander thing. I just can't. But I was honestly pleasantly surprised. Like, those ads for the soft drink companies can be really good.
The Adam Driver one was odd.
Yeah, I was like, I literally looked at Blair. I'm like, the fuck is going on? It's the singularity. What the hell, Kylo Ren?
Yeah,
this is like, done with it.
There's a couple where it was like the weird ass Grease singing one with John Travolta.
Yeah, and then there was one. It wasn't aired during the Super Bowl, but it came out in the last couple days. Did you see the Dick Tracy one?
No.
Okay, Warren Beatty. Beaker, can you not break into the cookies, please? I don't know what to say. He's literally batting at the cookies, trying to open them, and they're across the room where I can't get them. Why are you an asshole?
Did you see the one with Kiss and Joan Jett?
That was funny. Who was the black guitarist guy?
I'm getting back to Ozzy's there. We got Billy Idol.
Yeah.
Let me see here.
Billy Idol, Joan Jett,
I actually don't know
Ozzy.
who the black guy was.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. I'm like, who is this guy? And the Kiss
I-
guy, that was Paul Stanley, right?
Oh yeah. I'm surprised they didn't get Gene, but I guess maybe Gene asked too much money.
Probably. Plus, actually, Gene would have been more iconic with that long tongue, but he also doesn't.
But
he's
he
not in
doesn't
the same rock star shape he was like 40 years ago.
He was also not the big singer for the group, right? He was the sing yeller. But yeah, like the Steve Martin one isn't as good as obviously as the Ben Stiller one. But I'm trying to think. I'm just fast forwarding through my compilation. Did you see the Ben Affleck working at Dunkin' Donuts one?
Yes.
And he's and J-Lo shows up. He's like, is this where you're going when you're saying you're going to work all day? Like, and you know, a jab at the fact that he hasn't had a starring role since what, Batman?
I'd say since like Justice League. So it's
like,
been a while, boy.
Like 4 or 5 years. Is this where you've been going? And he's just like, he's been working at Dunkin'. That was actually pretty good.
Like this year, I think had much better commercials than previous years.
Yes, it's better than the last because it's the first year in 3 years they've been able to do commercials with large crowds.
Mm-hmm.
And not have. Did you like the triangle commercial?
That one I didn't see.
One musician guy is like, but the next new sound is not cowbells or anything; it's triangle, and it was. It was just kind of pretty well done. I'm trying to think, is there any other ones in here? One that was released actually 3 or 4 days ago, the Paramount Plus one.
With Stallone, that was pretty good. I like that one.
Mount Stallone, where Stallone is climbing Mount Stallone, and it's got people from Star Trek and Dora the Explorer and
Beavis and Butthead,
and Officer Dangle from Reno 911, and it's just it's your classic crossover, let's promote our channel commercial, but it was funny and clever enough.
I will say, because of the money they've poured into it and they already greenlit season 2, not gonna lie, very surprised I didn't see Master friggin' Chief there.
I was actually, what was more surprising is they had nothing from Yellowstone. And that's Yellowstone and all of its prequels and sequels, because Harrison Ford is the star of the current show on there in 1923. And I'm like, they didn't put Harrison Ford in there? Because yes, he's obviously doing Indiana Jones and all that, but like he's currently on a show that's like one of the #1 shows on streaming right now, and he wasn't on that commercial. So maybe, I guess it's a limited series. It's supposed to be a 1 season and done. Mm-hmm. So obviously Disney's going to pay him more to promote the multi-$100 million movie.
Yeah.
But then there was a P. Diddy commercial.
That one I heard because I was looking down at my phone.
He's looking different, but then I realized I probably haven't seen P. Diddy in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But it's P. Diddy, and they're trying to get him to produce new songs or new sounds or whatever.
Oh, right. And it's all the weird one-hit wonders. Like, yes. That I saw the last couple seconds of. Yes, now I know what you're talking about.
And the idea is they're trying to make a jingle for another product. Mm-hmm. And all he's doing is getting one-hit wonders to remix their old songs with new lyrics.
Yeah. What does the fox say? Please stop that. That killed me.
Please stop that. And he has what's her name, Kalis or whatever, doing the milkshakes. And then his magnum opus at the end is getting Hadaway to do What Is Love. And I was like, I never thought I'd see P. Diddy and Hadaway doing a commercial together.
Yeah.
That was good. I'm trying to think.
The halftime show we should talk about.
Yeah, we'll hit that. There were a couple other. The Alicia Silverstone Clueless commercial.
That I missed.
Okay. It was, what the hell was she even advertising? I actually don't remember. Was it a phone commercial or something? But she's dressed in her Clueless stuff, and then the comment at the very end, because she's got to be like 50 now. And the comment at the end was she's sitting in a high school class, and somebody goes, "Aren't you a little old to be in high school?" And she just gives like a stare at the camera because she looks pretty darn good though. And then I think that was it. And then Google Pixel had like a removing people from the background commercial of your photos, and they used that to have certain celebrities like make fun of the fact that some of their pictures are embarrassing, or have their X's in them and stuff. So that was good. Again, yeah, overall better commercials. Halftime show, I liked the music. I did not like the presentation.
See, I'm the opposite. I will say, and because I watched it last night half-heartedly, then I watched it this morning. This year, musically, I liked it a little bit more because I just liked the music a touch more. This year was less technical, less spectacle, but the dancing was amazing.
The dancing was amazing, but they had to be so careful. They had to do it so slowly when they were suspended in the
Yeah,
air.
I was actually talking about that with Blair just before she went off to work. And when I noticed Rihanna was on her platform and singing and dancing, I got to thinking, okay, first off, that is definitely computerized. And I got to thinking she must have a safe area on that platform mapped out where the riggers have probably said, you can go this far, no farther. Beyond that, you're on your own.
She was tethered. She wasn't able to move beyond a certain distance.
Okay, I didn't see the tether.
I paused it. You know how she was? Okay, so obviously she's she's not as paper thin as she always was because she's just had a baby a few months back, right? Like less than a year ago.
And now she's pregnant again.
Exactly. So there's only so much you can do safely. And on top of that, you're suspended up in the air. The suspension looks pretty good. It looked like it wasn't going to sway, but you got to worry about wind up there.
Yeah.
And what I realized, how her jacket looks so poofy?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't poofy because it was like it had like a parachute in there. Like it had something in there to puff up, but also she was harnessed in. She had a full body harness that was hidden underneath the jacket.
Oh.
And the harness was not to like bungee cord her. It was to harness her into the centerpiece. There was, and you could see it clipped onto her, the centerpiece, like rock climbing gear of the platform she was on. So what would happen is if she swung too far, she couldn't move. It was already at the tightest it could possibly be. So she couldn't move more than a couple steps left, right, front, or back. And if, let's say, one of the cables had broken and started tilting to the side, she was clipped right in. But at the same time, that's just really dangerous if you're pregnant. So
oh God, yeah.
This is what bothered me about it was it was more dangerous than the last several shows, or maybe even ever, yet the least visually appealing.
Like I said, I really enjoyed it. I like the fact it wasn't gimmicky in the regards that it wasn't like, hey, here's a rotating house where you walk upside down or whatever.
What I like is the engineering and the thought process that goes into storyboarding and choreographing what they did last year.
Yeah.
Or what The Weeknd did the year before when he paid for it all himself.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I'd say for me, in terms of halftime shows, musically, I like this year the best. Last year, I appreciate the technical performance. The Weeknd, I don't remember.
The Weeknd's one was he had all the light shows and he had the like fun house with all the crazy optical effects.
Yeah.
And the mirrors and stuff. And it was like watching a magic show.
Oh, okay, cool.
And the one last year was the very elaborate house set with the suspension stuff. Like, again, very difficult to choreograph. I'm more interested in seeing that because if I want to listen to their music, I'll just listen to their fucking music. Like, why? Like, why?
I don't know.
Why should
I kind of hope. I don't know. See, this made me want to go back through Rihanna's catalog, and I just had this thought right now. I hope they release a proper Super Bowl mix of what she performed.
They did.
Oh, okay. Is it on Spotify right now?
No, that's what I sent to you.
Oh, well, no. Like, I want a Spotify track that I can just play while I'm out and about.
They don't do that. Well, they won't. You know why?
Because it's money?
No, because her mic cut out twice during the show.
Yeah, that I did notice.
And the second it cut out, when her mic cut, they were smart. It had an auto switcher. It switched to a backing track she recorded earlier.
Yeah, because I know there was points she was like moving around and stuff, and her mic didn't seem like it was going. But yeah, I mean, honestly though, like I had this, I don't know whether I call it an argument or I'll say difference of opinion with somebody on Facebook about this morning, as I most often do. Someone's like, this was a snore fest and I don't like the thing. I'm like, well, then who the hell would you book?
Oh, I didn't think it was a snore fest. I really liked the music. I liked her performing. I thought it was Yes, she was suspended. I felt it was a very lazy presentation. And I know, yes, it looked good with the dancers. This was, if you compare it to the last 3 or 4 years, it was not the spectacle that you're used to expecting.
Yeah, that I can definitely agree on. It was less spectacle.
And you know why that is? If you go through the history, the last 5-6 years or more,
Mhm.
all sponsored by this, except for the weekend was sponsored, but at the same time, he actually put up $500,000 himself to
Mhm.
expand beyond the budget of what they were given.
Mhm.
That's why they had more fireworks and effects and stuff at his.
Mhm.
But taking that out of account, every one of those was sponsored by Pepsi and a team that Pepsi put together for the Super Bowl. This is the first one done by Apple Music. So they were maybe less likely to make it flashy. And you know what was more important? Did you notice on this? More important than her singing was having a beating, throbbing, growing, and shrinking Apple Music logo on the bottom left of the screen that kept pulling away from the attention of watching her.
Oh, that I never noticed.
Oh, it's very noticeable. Once you see it once, every time she would sing, it would pop up and go bigger and smaller, bigger and smaller. Click on me, click on me, click on me, pay for Apple Music.
I don't know. Like I say, I really think this is one of the better halftime shows I've seen anyway. But
it was one of the better musically. Her
Mhm.
mic and everything sounded better. I really, 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 truly, you could never convince me that this was a good presentation.
Yeah, like I said, my thing is I like the dancers because I thought that was neat. Although, like that one person I talked about on Facebook, I've got a sneaking suspicion why they don't like the last couple years of music. And I'm not going to say, and I'm
is it because the last 3 years were African American and African Canadian and African of descent or Caribbean descent performers?
That's kind of what I'm wondering. But maybe I'm being wrong. Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions. But I got to think.
I'll tell you right now, you're probably not jumping to conclusions because I've seen that sentiment before as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, who do you book that sells that many records, that has that many plays on Spotify? Like, I'm sorry, you're not.
Nickelback.
Okay, Nickelback. Okay, but
And,
I don't think they would play.
as much as I hate to say it, Nickelback. I think they did do Super Bowl one year.
Maybe like in the mid 2000s.
I might be wrong, but if they did, it would have been around their third album, probably.
That's what I'm thinking. Like early to mid 2000s.
But like outside of that, unless you're going to go with like
country,
unless you're going to go with unless you're going to go big country, or like okay, here's one. As much as I would not be interested, but who would get even more eyes on it if they got Garth Brooks to do it,
or like Billie Eilish or Lady Gaga or any of these other big. Hell, if they could get
Lady Gaga was 5 years ago, I think.
Say yeah, or she just had a big song. Help me out. Miley Cyrus. If you had her come out and do her song "Flowers" right now,
I think she did do 1 year. Again, I'm not 100% on that, but I know Gaga did. I think 2017 or 2016.
Yeah. So
but again, I've seen the pattern of what people were complaining about. I'm not complaining. I have nothing to say about that. I
think it's cool.
I was going to say, like,
these people.
Somebody's ethnicity doesn't even come into my mind when it comes to this at all.
It's their music.
What does is whether or not it was good performance. Last year was a poorer performance, except for Mary J. Blige.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. And then people complained that she was too thick and fat, and I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, like guys, seriously, who gives a shit?
But outside of her, I will admit that was not the greatest audible performance last year.
Yeah,
it was a visual spectacle. The Weeknd's one was really good. From 2020 2021. That was actually quite good. But like, I've seen some people rumbling, and it's like, my complaints are I didn't get the spectacle I would like to have seen.
Yeah,
but that's a personal preference. I would have liked to see a little more choreographed. Like, I like the idea of the staging of an elaborate set. That's just me, but that's a personal preference. You can't complain about the performance of the music or the dancing here.
Yeah.
So your only two complaints that if you see people complaining about it, outside of maybe the three complaints are like me. One, it's maybe not as visually appealing as you would have liked in the past, and that's the snore fest. Maybe if you were to translate that. Two, you didn't like that she looked pregnant, and that's a weird thing to say, but I've seen people saying that she looked fat, and it's like, well, she just had a baby like 9 months ago, and she's pregnant again.
Yeah, like, what do you want?
Yeah, you're lucky she's even performing.
Mhm.
Or your third option is the racism card, and it's like I'm seeing a lot of that bullshit.
Yeah, like, and like, I actually asked people, I'm like, well, then who would you book? Because let me tell you, you're not getting Metallica up there. You're not getting Aerosmith.
Yeah.
These are guys in their
You're-
60s and 70s. It's not going to happen.
Well, Metallica would do it. It's just their new album coming out is a harder rock thing, and it was already used. They were playing their songs in the field, and they were playing some of their songs in the commercial for the Daytona, which is next week, I think.
Yeah.
The sponsored song for the entire event is a new Metallica song.
Yeah.
So it happens. It just depends on the market. But like you're not going to get Aerosmith anymore. Or they're going to pass out on stage. You know what I mean? Like they're old.
You might get Foo Fighters, maybe, but now that the drummer's gone.
But are Foo Fighters going to get you the
Apple Music money?
Is it going to get the Apple money? You're going to get somebody like Bad Bunny who doesn't speak English, but like is like popular in South America. But they're not going to get him because this is playing primarily for an American audience. Like, and Adele's music is not get you pumped for the game music.
But say, yeah, like, and you're not going to get someone like somebody you and I both enjoy, Ghost. They're popular to a certain subset. Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
Like, or if you do get hard, it's got to be very homogenized, like
very old classic stuff.
Like, I think was it 2019 or 2020 was Maroon 5, and that is something where I would have changed the channel if that was.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
So like
maybe Imagine Dragons, but that's again 2018 thinking.
I would have. What I liked about last year's was it was a compilation of 90s people.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna do it, it would have been interesting. Like, you know, maybe in the future, not just have the one performer. If you're gonna do like just a stage show, have 2 or 3 performers do a mashups of their songs from over the decades.
Yeah,
you like know, have a Miley Cyrus come out and sing with Joan Jett or somebody.
Yeah, I support that.
And then you pull in, because he was there watching. You pull in Paul McCartney to do like a Beatles song remixed with something from I don't know, Flock of Seagulls or some weird shit. You could do interesting things there, and especially
Paul McCartney and Dave Grohl. You could do that, and they probably would.
Yeah, or you know what? Not necessarily playing a Foo Fighters song. You have the Foo Fighters come out with the drummer gone. You bring in Ringo Starr to play a Beatles song up there.
Yeah, that'd be freaking cool. I totally support that.
He could you can do these things. It's just they're going with who like I think Rihanna might be having a new album coming out soon. That's usually how it is.
Well, this is the first time, according to Blair, she's performed since 2018.
Yeah,
that's huge.
That's why they did it. Obviously.
Yeah.
Like it's not like she's an Arizona girl.
Yeah.
And last year was LA, so they wanted to do it with all the 90s West Coast rappers, which was cool. So wherever it happens this coming year, like if they do it in the the Midwest or in the South, they'll probably do a country performer. But like there's plenty. Like actually, you know who I think has a new album? I'm not 100% sure. If you want to get crossover appeal, you could do a hard rock thing, or you can even do like a rap or R&B singer or something. Bring out Shania Twain and have them do a duet.
Shania Twain and I don't know, Green Day or something. You could do it.
Or even you were talking like Miley Cyrus and Shania Twain. That's something people haven't seen before.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I'd watch that.
So that's I mean, like, so there's tons of options. I do enjoy watching the Super Bowl. I don't give a shit about the sport.
I watched maybe like a quarter, and I was cheering for Philly because that's where a lot of my friends in radio are, which it was cool. Maybe I'll follow it next year. We'll see.
I was going to say, segueing away, this coming Sunday, I think, is the first day of the brand new third relaunch of XFL.
Oh God!
Yeah, the
Rock
God! Yeah, I know. Well, here's the thing: there was a commercial near the end of the Super Bowl advertising the AFL or USFL. That's the I guess it's the Farm League or the Old People League. I don't know what that is exactly. It's the semi-pro league, right? And you know what the commercial consisted of? Saying this ain't no Hollywood football. This is real football. Real football returns in 8 weeks after the Super Bowl. over the next 8 weeks is the XFL's launch. So they did an entire attack campaign against the XFL in the Super Bowl. Like, that tells me you're actually kind of scared of ratings.
Yeah.
Of potential ratings. But anyway, I looked into it. Remember how our team was going to be the New York team? Well, they moved to Orlando. During the pandemic, they reshifted things around. So our home team is DC. It's the closest city. I'm actually going to watch on Sunday, next Sunday's game, because I'm like, you know what? It's Michael. I think it's like an 8 or 10 game season.
You know what? That is small enough for us to actually follow.
So I think I'm going to watch it, and whether or not, like, the two teams that you and I would have to choose from, as far as like closest in geography teams that would make sense for us to root for, are DC, which is about 500 miles.
Yep.
And then the next one is like 700 or 800 miles, and that would be St. Louis, Missouri. But that, like, DC is really the closest. And I'm like, you know what? Let's make DC our team, and let's see, because it's a relaunch and they've retooled the rules, blah 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 blah. They'll actually have to teach us over the commentary what the rules are, so we can actually understand what the game's going to be. So I'll give it a watch. I'll watch the first game. Apparently it's going to be on like ESPN Plus in Canada, but a lot of the games are on ABC. So if you just get bunny ears or your cable package, you can watch it. So
I've got Sportsnet on my Xbox. Maybe I can see it on there. I don't know.
No, ESPN Canada, ESPN Plus.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Well,
which means we're just going to be watching whatever streams pop up online. And then you have cable, so you can just watch the games on ABC, no problem. Anyway,
All right.
but yeah, they're I think it's like eight weeks worth of games, and then they have their semifinals, which are 2 games, and then their version of the Super Bowl. So it's like 12 weeks total for the whole season, and you don't have to watch like a million games in a season. It's not like hockey or baseball or whatever. It's literally 1 game a week for your team.
Yeah,
I'm like, you know what? I'll give that a watch. It's going to be all Hollywood, the Rocks thing. I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a watch. It's hard for me to get into Canadian football because I don't care. But whenever a new sport pops up or a new version of a sport, I'm willing to give it a try.
If you can get in at the ground level, it's a lot more accessible.
Yeah, so that's part of the appeal. I'll give you a heads up when our team plays, in quotes.
We can do that.
I think it's Sunday the 18th at like 8 p.m. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, so we will hopefully give you some kind of an update when we record next time's show. So we're going to take another brief intermission here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. And what you're going to hear next is one of my reviews I've received from Hasbro recently. Are we going to look at a Transformer or something else? Maybe something else this week, as we just saw the D&D trailer. So we'll be back, guys, right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net. I've been Mike the Birdman. He's been Alex the producer. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, look! A Dungeons and Dragons ride! Wow, neat!
Give me a break.
I don't like this!
Whoa! What's happening?
Whoa! Where are we?
Look out! Fear not, Ranger.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here. I'm here to talk to you about something that our friends over at Hasbro sent over, and this one is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be talking about Dungeons & Dragons, though not the books right now. We're going to be talking about Dungeons & Dragons Cartoon Classics. This is a series of action figures based upon the 1980s classic cartoon series, and the figure I'm going to be looking at is, I think it's the Ranger Hank, and he's the guy who had the bow that shot the magical arrows. Cool stuff. So there have been D&D action figures in the past, some more successful than others, some highly stylized, some kind of 1980s cheese. This is more in line with like Marvel Legends or Power Rangers Lightning Collection or the Ghostbusters Select Series, stuff like that. So Cartoon Classics, the Hank figure looks, well, just like he did in the 1980s cartoon. The detail on this is actually pretty incredible. He only comes with one accessory, but he does come with something else. All the figures in the line come with their own dice, and this is, I think Hank is the D8, if I'm not mistaken, and you can collect all the rest of the Ds in the set. Like there's Diana, and there's Bobby, there's Avenger, and there's a Dungeon Master one. And they also have other D&D action figures, but I'm getting ahead of myself. And you can collect all the dice. So if you want to have an exclusive D&D set that presumably you can't get anywhere else, well, this is certainly one way to get people in, because, hey, we're all dice goblins in some way, shape, and or form. We're all mimics, you might say. So the figure itself, it's a really good likeness of Hank from the cartoon. And I do find as Hasbro's engineering goes on, like if you look at how the Marvel Legends series has evolved and G.I. Joe Classified, their facial sculpts have gotten better. And because this is more based upon a cartoon character, it looks really, really, really sharp. My only complaint about Hank is using some of his articulation in his arms. It's a little difficult to get him into the poses that I want holding the bow, so it looks like he's drawing the bowstring back. I just can't get it to sit in his hand properly. Maybe that's just my figure. Maybe I'm just not getting the right kind of poses right. But I have seen other reviewers have difficulty with some of their joints snapping. Even with mine, I did find the figure extremely stiff. So if you're going to be, when you remove the figure from packaging, I might recommend you run the joints under a little bit of warm water, not scalding hot, because you will warp the plastic, but enough warm just to get the kind of joints moving, and it should work fairly fine after that. One thing that I did kind of do, and I'll be talking about this in an upcoming review, I decided to pair this with the D&D Gelatinous Cube Honor Among Thieves thing, and well, poor Hank has been eaten by a gelatinous cube, which is kind of funny and probably would have happened in the cartoon had this series continued on longer. I mean, ultimately, can I recommend the Dungeons & Dragons Cartoon Classics Hank? In Canada, it's a little bit of an ask, but then again, prices for figures have been going up pretty much across the board. What do you expect? In the United States, these things retail for about $24.99. In Canada, I want to say they're about $35. I've only seen them at Toys R Us so far, though I'm pretty sure you could find them at like other third-party retailers like, say, GameStop, but I haven't seen them in Walmart. So, do I recommend this series of figures? Well, if you're an older millennial like myself, like I'm an 81 baby, then probably you've seen the D&D cartoon and reruns, or maybe you picked up the DVD set when it came out like a million years ago from, I think it was like Mill Creek or somebody. So yeah, sure, it is pretty cool. This is a D&D movie year with Honor Among Thieves coming out in literally just a few weeks. This is a nice bit of 80s nostalgia to hold you over. Plus, not gonna lie, getting an exclusive dice set, that is pretty cool. It would be probably the most expensive dice set outside of Artisan Dice, which will run you a lot of money because you only get one dice per figure, but it is still pretty cool. I am hoping to look at other figures in the line like Bobby, Diana, Avenger, and Dungeon Master, so hopefully I'll get a chance to talk about those guys a little bit later on. So what I'm going to say for this, for the casual fan, you maybe want to pass this one up if you're a D&D person who needs to have everything from mimics to liches to ancient black dragons. Yeah, sure, why not? But if you did like the classic cartoon series and you want something a little bit cooler than your figures from the 1980s that didn't really do a whole hell of a lot, didn't look really cool, then Dungeons & Dragons classic figures are probably worth your time to roll a d20, and hopefully you're rolling with inspiration.
I don't know. This is gonna be dangerous. We better keep our eyes open. Yeah! Dungeon Master!
I am sorry that your quest for a way home met with failure. Perhaps you will have better luck in the future.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman. He's Alex, the producer. Well, let's talk about the strange and unusual things that have happened around the planet Earth this past week. And we're going to start things off from KIRO7.com. And this story is called Lawyer Dies as He is Shot by Gun That Was Triggered by an MRI Scanner. A lawyer in Brazil died weeks after a gun he carried into a room with an MRI machine discharged when the device was turned on, according to the news outlet Folha de São Paulo. Leandro Mathis de Novas had accompanied his mother to get an MRI scan in Sao Paulo, Brazil on January 16th and took a handgun into the room, carrying it in his waistband. According to officials, both the attorney and his mother were told to remove any metal object they had before entering the room because of the machine's powerful magnetic field. Officials at the facility said they did not know that De Novas had taken a gun into the room. When the machine turned on, the magnetic force pulled Novas's gun from his waistband and it discharged the bullet, striking him in the abdomen. De Novas was an advocate of gun ownership and encouraged people on TikTok and Instagram to purchase and collect weapons. De Novas was taken to a hospital after he was shot, where he died of his injuries last week.
If this isn't the Darwin Award for the year...
Yeah, like seriously,
like,
you're going to the room with a fucking magnet.
There's nothing... Okay, depending on the country and your beliefs, there's nothing wrong with ownership depending on your belief system, right?
Yeah, sure.
But there are rules you need to follow, and
like the
if
rules
you
of
say
physics and science,
my freedoms above, your freedom does not let you take a weapon into a room with a highly magnetized object, where the whole point of them telling you not to bring the weapon in is because it will discharge and kill you.
Yeah, but it's like your safety. I mean, even like I'm just thinking here. Okay, so the weapon discharged. Even if the safety was on, maybe there's no guarantee that could have happened. Maybe it was just going to happen anyway. I mean,
well, the magnets are so strong that if you if you have a metal plate in your head, you're not allowed to get MRIs.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Because it will rip out of your skull. People that have certain types of fillings that are from countries where they don't use necessarily the same materials we use, you're not able to get MRIs, or it'll rip your fillings out of your mouth.
Yep. When I got an MRI, when I had my gallbladder surgery a couple of years ago, they were very specific in asking me. They're like, Mike, are you sure you don't have any metal in your body? I'm like, as far as I know. And they're like, we're going to double check everything because this will suck if it doesn't.
It can rip fillings out and dislodge them into the top of your mouth and into your brain.
Yeah, basically you will die.
People have had things like ball joints for replaced hips that were early designs that were stainless steel, and they didn't know, and they've been ripped out of their sockets. It happens. Like, it's one of the strongest magnets known to man, electromagnets. It's like you're basically put into a container that has a car crusher magnet thing on top of it.
Yeah, like it's one of those things, like MRI things, you don't fuck around with strong magnetic fields. You just don't. And just now what really surprises me about this, and maybe I don't know how this guy was carrying his weapon. First off, carrying a gun in your waistband is not the safest way to transport a firearm. If you're a gun advocate, and okay, let's say you are, why are you not using a proper holster? Why are you not using a shoulder holster? This might have prevented this. Not likely, but possible.
Or if you were, why did you think it was okay to wear it when you went in for a check?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's another thing. Maybe when you get an MRI, or you or I were to get one, don't you normally have to take all of your clothes off and put on a gown?
Yep. When I got my MRI,
what pocket was he hiding it in? Was he hiding it in his bum? Because where else are you going to put it? Oh, unless they allowed him to wear all his clothes in there, which is a big no-no. One of the reasons why you have to strip down and to the gowns are in case you have a belt buckle on and you don't think about it.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's accompanying his mother to do this thing. Why was he in the room? I mean, maybe to assure her, maybe, but no, man. Like, you stand in the room with the MRI technician. You trust the doctors and the nurses to do the job they're paid to do. Like, this is irresponsible gun ownership. This is irresponsible. Why are you bringing this into a hospital?
This was also irresponsible of the hospital allowing him to wear his clothes.
Yeah.
Because
if he's in the room with the tech, that I get, you can wear your clothes in there. Why he was allowed with all of his clothes on in the room when the MRI machine was going off, I have serious questions about that. But when that's what I'm saying.
Like, if he went in there and he's like, I'm going to use this machine, I'm not putting on your gown, then they should have said you're not allowed in here.
Yeah, because
and if he if the machine was turned on by accident or was turned on while he was disrobing and it happened, at the same time, he should have disrobed before he was in that testing room.
Well, no, I think it was for his mom. If I'm reading the story right.
It was for his mom? Then he still should not have been allowed in the room without a gown.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I was in the room, I'm thinking really hard. There was metal in the room, but it was like across the room.
Well,
and
there's a like I don't know about. Okay, the one I've seen here.
I went to the Giravinsky in Hamilton for mine.
Okay, yeah, because they have different size machines, but like a regular size machine, they usually have tape or a painting on the ground that is literally, this is the field. Don't stand within this if you have metal.
Yes. I do remember seeing tape on the floor. And I remember
it's
the room being
there.
Very big too.
It's not there by accident. That tape is literally, don't stand beyond this if you have like even like a pen in your pocket or something.
Yeah, like it's pretty serious. And like I get if he was there to maybe say, hey Ma, I'm in the room, you're gonna be fine, because as Alex, I'm gonna presume you've never had an MRI.
I have not had one. The closest thing I've had done was I've had EKG stuff hooked up to me, and I had a special sound test done when they thought I had hearing loss as a kid, but not in one of those machines.
I've been in the MRI machine twice in my life, once for my leg in 2017, and then twice for my gallbladder in 2021. All 3 times sucked, but it's not an experience you forget. Depending if they put you in, when they put you in head first and you hear that giant clicking, that's a sound you will never forget. This is just dumb. Honestly, I see this on multiple failures. The hospital should have said, look, sir, you're not allowed past this room. It's a safety protocol. I know your mother's scared. She can hear you over the loudspeaker. Or if you're going to be in the room, you have to follow every safety protocol. It's there for your protection.
When parents go in with kids or when somebody goes in that has panic disorder, you're allowed sometimes to go in and hold their hand, which might have been the case that this was happening, but they'll make you dress down in a gown just like them. So this was a protocol failing on the hospital too.
Yeah, like totally. Like this was a completely preventable death and it shouldn't have happened. So that's just, you did dumb and you paid the price. So moving on to our next story, a little less grim. We'll say this one comes courtesy of the EdmontonJournal.com, a local paper. Man eats
local to a couple thousand miles away.
Who was it? Was it you or somebody else that was telling me, oh, let's drive to Edmonton for the weekend because people don't get how big Canada is? Was that you or somebody else?
Okay. My Opa's cousin was visiting from Germany, Karin and Manfred. Manfred comes, wants to drive in a big American car because they never had done that. So we had I think an 80s Monte Carlo, pretty darn big car. And we get in the car, we drive on the 401. He's like, because the Autobahn is great because it was so fast for them, but just he liked the openness of like, at that time it was already like 5 lanes wide each side. And we drove, like we did a 2-hour drive. We drove from Toronto when it was not busy, because remember, this is less congested in 1994 than now. And we drove, or 94, 95, we drove, was it 93 they showed up? It was 93. So we were living in Barrie. So we drove to Barrie and drove back. And then he's like, this was amazing. This is great. It was like, this was like 9 or 10 in the morning. And he's like, hey, do you think we could drive? I want to see the West Edmonton Mall. Because he had heard about it. And I was like, and my dad and my open in the car, they just start laughing. And he's like, what? It's like, you got 2.5 days? and the guy was like, what? Manfred goes, what do you mean? It's like, he thought we were joking. And they're like, no, like that's like driving from Germany into Moscow or farther. Like, he's like, you could drive. It's just like, you don't get, like, he looked at a map just briefly and he's like, it's not that far. And he's like, they're like, that's like a 19-hour drive going at like 80 miles per hour, right?
Like, yeah, that's a long drive. I've done that drive. It is long.
And it's like, so we're going to get there, say hi, drive back, and then your flight's back to Germany. and this was not when we had as many passenger flights that were like inter-Canada, like cheap, because like you could fly there in about an hour and a half. If you're going at full jet speed, or actually no.
Well, it'd be closer to 3 or 4 hours, but yeah.
I was going to say Kitchener to Calgary is about 2 hours if it's a direct flight. So it would have been somewhere. If it's a direct flight, it would have been a couple hours. But still, it's like he was dead serious. Like, can we drive there? Like, serious? And we're like, and my dad is like laughing, almost crashing the car. He's just like, no. And it's not the first time. People from Europe especially don't understand how big the distances are here.
Yeah,
yes,
Canada's a very big country.
Like if you want to go down to Niagara Falls, like we told them, so we ended up telling them where to go, and then they ended up driving to Niagara Falls because that was only a 2.5 hour drive from Toronto, depending on the traffic. So it's like that, and even then he was like, after he got back, his realization was he's like, that's like driving across all of Germany. Like you can drive across all of Germany from like the tippy top to the bottom, in the distance it takes you from like less distance than it is from like Ottawa to Windsor.
And
it's like that's their whole country, and it's like this is one of our provinces.
Yeah.
and like so like that appreciation you really don't get unless you live in like, it's like for us, we drive, like it's regular for us to drive 2 or 3 hours to go anywhere we want to go that's outside of our little hub of area. And if you have friends and family in like England or Europe and that, like when they drive for an hour, they consider that a long trip driving for an hour, like legitimately. And they will do things like they will plan a overnight stay if they have to drive more than an hour each way. And that's not me exaggerating. That's a legitimate thing. But we're anywhere in North America, and I'll even argue places like Mexico and Central and South America, same thing. We're so used to everything being so far apart that like it's not a big deal for us to drive 6 hours to hang out.
I would think Mexico is pretty spread out.
It is too, yeah. But like for us, like it's not a big deal for us to go. Like if you live in Toronto, being like, hey, I'm going to go to Buffalo for a shopping trip. It's going to take me 3 to 4 hours to drive there. We're going to go there for an hour and drive back, and it's nothing. And it's like, and we'll drive down there and we'll say hi to our friends and have lunch and drive home. Like it's not unheard of. In fact, it's very common for people to drive a total of 8 hours in a day for a day trip here.
But I mean, when like I was growing up, when me and my friends used to go from Owen Sound, we would drive down to Brampton. That's an hour and a half, 2 hours. We want to go down the Mississauga to Toronto area. That's 2.5. I mean, that's a trip for us. Even to go to Barrie is like an hour and a half.
I was going to say, like in general, I think the rule of thumb in Ontario and even in Saskatchewan, like most of our provinces, and it's probably the same for most of the states as well. If your total round trip of driving is less than 8 hours in one day, you don't usually stay overnight. Whereas in most other parts of the world, like anything over 2 hours, 2-3 hours of driving in a day is considered too much. And then you'll plan for a hotel stay or to stay with family. And like we hear that and we're just laughing. We're like, why? Like it takes me an hour to go across town. So yeah, but anyway, that's
side tangent.
Side tangent. But again, very valid, because again, we've got listeners over in Europe, and like there's all the stereotypes about everything being far apart in Canada. Like that is legit. Like we're not far apart from each other because most of us all live within a certain area, right? Like we all live along the border. But what they don't realize is the distance between metropolitan areas is generally, unless the cities are mostly connected, like our cities are almost connected. They're only about a 20-minute drive between, populated areas. But most like metropolis areas like Toronto, Ottawa, is at least an hour to 3 hours between each location of driving at the speed limit. Whereas that is just not a thing in Europe. You're never more than about 15 minutes away from a major population center.
Yeah. So this story comes from the EdmontonJournal.com. Man eats chili pepper at Edmonton City Council meeting to prove climate change is, quote, not a huge issue. The peppers heating up a little bit, but it's not a big issue. A man went to fiery lengths to prove his point at an Edmonton City Council meeting Monday morning after he ate a chili pepper to show local lawmakers that climate change is not a big issue. In a speech mostly in support of Alberta's soil and gas industry, the man takes aim at City Council's support of climate-friendly policies. In November, Edmonton Mayor Ajamit Saul, his chief of staff, and a top bureaucrat flew to Egypt to attend the United Nations Climate Change Conference, or COP27, in a trip that cost the taxpayers nearly $22,000. Quote, I kind of wanted to demonstrate that climate change is not a huge issue because I brought a chili pepper and I was going to eat it and show that even though something heats up a little bit, it's not the end of the world, the man said at the public hearing, where speakers get up to 5 minutes to raise concerns on city issues. According to Ward Papistew Councillor Michael Jans, the presenter's name showed up over the video conference as Arun Tinsley, or Aren't I Silly? As the man argues his points further, his voice begins to tremble and shake as the chili pepper seemingly engulfs his mouth, but the man seeming relatively unfazed. The pepper's heating up a little bit. That's not a big issue, he says. I wanted to demonstrate that because a lot of people say if Canada was to heat up, it would be the end of the world. But South America is way warmer than Canada, and the people vacation there all the time. So
this
for
is
someone,
the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, because this person doesn't understand about ecosystems, biomes, how the balance works between wildlife, plant life, bacteria,
and simple
viruses, wetlands. Like, if you destroy the individual ecosystems, it makes everything harder to live and breathe in. Like the reason it can be hot in South America and people don't just die is because it can be cold in other places. If everything is hot all the time, everything dies.
But yeah, and there are other factors, but I'll get to that. So
sorry, that's just a simple cursory over the top. This person is incredibly dumb. Have they not had any schooling?
I will continue on because he goes on to say, so for someone to say that it would not be the end of the world for something like that to happen, I think it's ludicrous. Edmonton Mayor, that I said his name already, simply responded by saying, thank you. And the meeting moved ahead. In a tweet, I can't even pronounce this, Councillor Sarah Hamilton responded by saying, I'd like to offer my consulting services should any other aspiring comedians want to brigade council meetings. I promise that I'll at least help you get to the punchline. Presumably the man is a huge Hot Ones fan, but this could not be confirmed by press time. We see this happen every so often. It's happening more in Canada where people, and as you're right, as a citizen, you can bring things to city council. You're allowed to talk to your elected representatives, and it's always over the strangest issues. I know.
I know why you skipped the ward. I looked it up.
I can't pronounce.
Sipiyinniwak. Sipawiniak?
Maybe.
Probably Sipawiniak. But
yeah,
that is a tongue twister of a word.
Yeah. And I know in the States where a lot of people get ambushed at meetings, for example, that are publicly held meetings, it's a lot to do with local school boards. I noticed that happens a lot. And
that was happening locally here over and it's always over identity politics.
Yeah, it's always over identity politics or critical race theory. It's starting to get more about the conversation about kind of climate change.
Or a lot of times, what books are deemed not good for Christian youth.
Yeah, I'm like, guys, it's 2023. Can we just not?
If you are afraid of what somebody reads, you're afraid of ideas and not what the book actually is. A book doesn't change people's minds. A book opens people up to different views. Mm-hmm. And if you're afraid of somebody reading a different view and coming to that conclusion, they were likely to come to that conclusion anyway. They just happened to read it and realized, hey, it's not just in my head.
Yeah. Like it's strange. Like I've seen some really bizarre council meeting videos on YouTube. There's tons of compilations out there you'll see of people just getting in at it.
Thank you, Bible Belt, for giving us some of those crazy compilation videos.
I mean, like, you're allowed to hold whatever views you want. until
you're allowed to express those views as long as you're not actively harming somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Just don't actively hurt people. Don't be a bigot. Don't be just stop.
You're allowed to be a bigot in your own mind. It's where you express it that it becomes a problem.
True. So our final story this week, Alex showed me this story yesterday, and I'm so glad he did. So from CornwallLive.com, McDonald's to remove, quote, tasteless sign opposite Cornwall crematorium. The advertising poster next to the sign for Penmount Crematorium has largely been greeted with hilarity. Burger giant McDonald's has said it will remove a, quote, tasteless sign opposite a crematorium in Cornwall after the unfortunate coincidental placement pointed out by Cornwall Live. Although the advertising hoarding has caused hilarity among motorists who spotted on the busy A39, others fear it may upset grieving families. The sign advertising the fast food chain's McCrispy Burger is right next to a crematorium sign and has been placed on a bus stop directly opposite the Penmount Crematorium between Truro and Carlin Cross.
So, to explain to somebody who can't see it, this is in Cornwall, England, not Cornwall,
Ontario.
Yes. And it is a small white and black sign that says crematorium with an arrow pointing to the left, standard British road sign style. Similar to ours in North America, except theirs have a slightly different shape. And the bus stop is a standard bus shelter, like a green and glass bus shelter with the poster. It's within about 5 feet of the crematorium sign. When you drive up, you'll see crematorium, and then to the right, the McCrispy sign.
So the woman says, or a woman said, sorry, one woman whose mother-in-law cremated at the establishment last year, she said, quote, although I can see the funny side, it is tasteless, and I'm sure some grieving families won't like to see it when visiting Penmount for the funeral and the cremation of a loved one. When a Cornwall reporter asked people what they thought of the sign, someone replied, I think how funny it is will probably depend on how long ago you followed the crematorium sign wearing a black tie. When we shared an image of the sign, it was greeted with hilarity among the comments where, quote, anyone who doesn't find this funny are the same people who that were taken into consideration when the Penmount Hotel in New Quay became Penberthy Care Home. It was thought that some wouldn't see the funny side of a building full of older folks sharing the same name as the corporation body furnace. Quote, no worse than when our local council entertaining the idea of allowing a crematorium to be built next door to a retirement village fell off a chair laughing, and of course, I'm loving it, the chain slogan. Someone who works at the advertising at sites in Cornwall said, not me, luckily, I do have sympathy, however. Cornwall Council, which runs the crematorium and owns the bus shelter, said it was unable to comment on the matter.
This was just part. I don't think this was purposeful. I think this was part of the advertising campaign where
nobody thought about it.
The McDonald's paid to have all the bus shelter signs changed. Didn't matter where they were placed. It's just all the signs were changed. Now, what's funny? There's talk about what's really funny that's not mentioned in this article is it has the McCrispy, and the McCrispy, for anybody that doesn't know, if you're in a country that doesn't have it, it's in Canada now. It started in the States.
Sandwich?
It was the States and Canada, and then it moved to England. You know how the McChicken burger is like that sort of white meat, very homogenized ground chicken burger? Mm-hmm. It is their version of what like Wendy's or other people have, where it's more of like a chicken breast meat, fried chicken breast, basically, as a burger, but maybe a little more McDonald'sified. But that's what it says in small print below the McCrispy and below the burger. So it's crematorium picture. It says a new favorite here to stay. McCrispy, a new favorite here to stay at the crematorium. Oh, it's too good. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just, this is one of those things where things just happen and they become really funny. It could have been worse. It could have been so much worse. Like there have been, things advertising garbage pickup that have been placed to weird things. Like, could you imagine if it was crematorium this way, and then it had a picture of like waste management garbage bags.
I want to say I've seen something like that locally here. Actually,
like
there was something I've seen.
Like if it was like literally, what if it had like the thing saying "got junk"? Got junk, or what if it was advertising that old age home, and it was like Shady Acres retirement home, a very happy place for your parent, and then it's right next to the crematorium. Like it could have been, like they said, it could have been worse.
There is one place locally, and then I guess we'll kind of wrap this up, close to where my wife went to high school. High school, very, very nice facility. Right next door to a cemetery. Okay, strike one. And right next door to the town's crematorium. So just imagine going for lunch and what you can smell in the air. It ain't the meatloaf.
Okay, here, you know what could have been better? What if it was an advertisement for, like, you know how there's Baskin Robbins, but there's like, what is it here called? Stone Slab Creamery?
Yeah.
What if it was the Stone Slab Creamery ad? Ice creamery right next to the crematorium. That would have been amazing. Ooh. Mommy, it tastes like ashes. No, that's terrible. I'm sorry. This ice cream. Hey, mommy, this ice cream tastes like grandpa. This tastes like grandpa's kisses. You'd be like, oh no.
Dear. We have to have a talk.
It could have been even worse. What if it was an advertisement for the local Humane Society?
Oh man! See, my thing,
and it was a picture, the local Humane Society pound, and it's got a bunch of dogs and cats staring at the picture, like, you know, adopt us. But it's the Humane Society crematorium.
You know what? I was thinking about this. What fast food chain could get away from this? If they had to have fast food advertising, you know
Subway.
Who loses?
Subway.
Yep. Subway gets away with it. Maybe Taco Bell, but Wendy's loses because they say flame grilled. They always have that in the advertisement, and Burger King has it right on the Whopper.
Burger King charbroiled.
Yeah, exactly. They can't win. So any of the burger places auto lose. Maybe Jack in the Box. Maybe Hardee's.
It could have been worse. Spicy Angry Whopper.
Maybe Swiss Chalet if you want to go Canadian. No, rotisserie chicken. You might lose there, but you got to think about that one for a second.
What was the old commercial? Something. It's what's for dinner.
Crematorium. Yeah.
Was it chicken or beef or turkey? Well, or what was that? What was that commercial where it's like, it's what's for dinner? It was the slogan.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It wasn't Mary Brown's, was it?
Oh, no. Old advertising campaigns. I feel like chicken tonight. Chicken tonight.
And pizza places couldn't get away with it either because they always say wood fried or whatever.
No. Okay, what if it was
oven fresh?
What if it was a shake and bake ad?
There's no way to win this.
I mean, there's. I'm trying to think. Is there something else that, like, it could be like? Actually, you know what's more likely?
What?
They're saying there were rumors that it's going to be replaced by a Burger King ad. Now, you know what's going to probably replace it? A life insurance policy ad, because that's what's on most bus terminals anyway.
It's true. It's either going to be that or a real estate agent, which it always is.
No, wait. It's tax season. What if it was an ad for H&R Block? There's only two things certain in life: death and taxes. And it has that. Come in and get yours prepared today, and it's right next to the. So I mean, it could have been much worse.
It's true.
I do think it was funny that the McCrispy was right bold center. That's good. I mean, that's wholesome weird news right there.
That is dad joke level of weird.
Yeah, like it's. I mean, yeah, it's. We can think of things that would make it, you know, significantly worse. I'm trying to think if there's anything directly. I guess like a fresh baked cookies thing could have been worse.
Yeah. So. There you have it, folks. That's going to do it for this edition of the Weird News only on this.
Popeyes. I don't know if they have Popeyes there, right?
Yeah.
Popeyes used to have an ad here for blackened chicken.
Oh.
There was like a limited time offer. Can you
I
imagine
remember that, yeah.
Can you imagine if it was Popeyes blackened chicken and it was just a picture of like char?
or if it was like advertising like a barbecue pit or something.
Or even like a hair product commercial where it's advertising like, no burnt ends or split ends.
There's no way to win in the world of advertising if we've definitely shown that. So anyway, guys, we're going to take a final break here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Alex has one more review for us this week, and then we're kind of give you a preview on what's going to be coming up on the site this week as, well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about before the end of the month because, hey, tomorrow is Valentine's Day. Hopefully you're spending it with your significant other or at least someone you like. Or, hey, maybe your dog, cat, hamster, snake. I don't know you, and I don't judge. We'll talk to you guys right after this, only on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
Scavenger Studio sent a review copy of Season, A Letter to the Future for us to check out. This is a PS5/PS4 code that works for both, but I obviously played it on the PlayStation 5. And this is that game that you saw at, I think it was one of the PlayStation showcases early on, either right before the PS5 came out or launched. It might not have been the first like showcase where it was like the future of gaming one that they did, the super high quality one. It might have been like the August or September one they did before the console launched. And this was the game where you saw a person riding around on a bicycle and chronicling and listening to the different like people / somewhat fantastical creatures and people, and recording down the events at the end of the season, or what appears to be an apocalyptic event that's going to be happening that is dissimilar to what we would normally think of as a season. I won't get much further into that way as far as the plot goes, because this is a game that is a little more on the side of a narrative experience. We've done a few of these reviews in the past year or so, and I guess the closest thing that maybe somebody would have experienced is What Remains of Edith Finch, where you go through it and it's an interactive narrative story, and you're given some prompts in this game at the beginning where it's like, here's a spot to record or listen or do things, and then you're sort of just left to your own devices to discover and do things in whatever order you feel like it. The mechanics of riding the bike around are kind of neat. It does take advantage of the PS5's controller and features with the triggers and the rumble and everything. What's most striking about this game is it looks like you're in a living water painting, and it's pretty cool that way for being a smaller studio putting together this project. Audio wise, it's very well designed for the atmosphere. There's the lip syncing's a little off for me, but that is also maybe a design choice. Like, it doesn't appear like there was a problem with it. It's just I prefer my stuff to be like super tight, and this is a little bit on the loosey goosey end, but it's going for a specific style, so I get it, which is cool. This is something where you're going to want to experience it at least once, and then maybe try it again. It's the kind of thing where it might be fun once you've done it to have somebody else come in with you and play through it with you, and just see what their reaction and how they experience it. This is a game that is very much experience the atmosphere over experience any action, because this is not by any means an action game. This is a brew some tea or coffee or whatever your favorite calming drink is, sit in a room with like scented candles and nice mood lighting, and just kick back for an afternoon on like a rainy day or something and just chill and play this. It's one of the better unique experiences. I like that we have these now where we can have these big blockbuster games, and then we can have these like super tuned in niche interesting narrative adventures. And I think if you've liked that, what Remains of Edith Finch, or you liked, even though there was a lot more action in it, if the kind of uniqueness that you got from Stray, it's like that, just not as action puzzly. This is, experience the world, record things down at your own pace, and unravel the mystery that is what this world is. And I won't say more than that. Just, I think you're probably going to like it. So, check out a couple trailers and then maybe, give it a try.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
And that's the kind of show it has been here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. As this week is Valentine's Day, we do wish our warmest well wishes to all of you out there who decide to celebrate today. And for those of you that don't, it's just Tuesday, and that's okay too. Hopefully you will still have fun regardless. Coming up on the site this week, we will have another...
If you don't have a significant other, you don't want one, you don't have one for whatever reason, whatever your situation is, you can all benefit from when all the candy goes on sale the next day.
That's right. There's always something to gain out of this.
I would say it's the third best after holiday candy day. Halloween is the best, followed by Christmas,
Easter,
and this I think is okay. I would say it's Halloween, then Easter, and then this and Christmas are tied.
Yeah,
for third place, and then fourth place is Mother's Day. Father's Day, nothing goes on sale except ties and like socks.
Maybe barbecues.
Oh, barbecue sauces, and you might get like a whole bunch of leftover. That's the day where you can go get all the great meat that didn't sell.
Yeah. Sometimes you might see the odd sale on tools, but you kind of got to jump on that one.
But as far as candy goes, this is right up there with Christmas. So, be prepared to get a bunch of nice chocolates later on.
Yeah, for sure. So, I think we have another loose cannon. I know I just finished editing the Lorenzo Lamas epic. That is the Snake Eater trilogy.
Yeah, that should be coming out this week. Aaron and I've got to contact Aaron and figure out what day he would like to record so that the following week we should have our Trek year in review discussion, because this week is when Picard season 3 starts, and we'll be looking into 2023 and beyond.
Yeah, and I know we're going to be talking about The Last of Us on a prototype. Once that ends, we'll probably do a Last of Us discussion, and then maybe a follow-up talk will be us talking about video game adaptations. Have they gotten better? And that's only talking about stuff in the last, 5 years.
Plus a prototype with you, me, and
maybe Ken, probably.
And Ken, I think the first one we should do is still going to be our, what do we think the year is going to be like?
Yeah,
because we're not at E3 season yet, but we're seeing some things popping up. We've had a few showcases, and we're still in a situation where outside of Nintendo, there's nothing we really know about what's coming this year.
So yeah, it's fairly quiet on a number of different fronts. So we're just going to have to kind of wait and see. I know me and Ken are recording on Valentine's Day. Coincidentally enough, we're recording a anime loose cannon, which is kind of a follow-up to one we did earlier last year where we talked about romance animes. And Ken picked two. He picked Josie the Tiger and the Fish and A Silent Voice. And he themed it around disability romance. And just to give you kind of a preview of what I watched last night, I watched Josie the Tiger and the Fish last night, and that got a lot about being in a wheelchair right. A lot. And a lot of the struggles a disabled person may face. And I was very pleasantly surprised. The next one features a girl who is deaf and only really communicates via sign language. She can talk, but it's not, if you've ever heard a deaf person speak, it's not as fluent as say you or I, because we can judge how we sound and everything. And it's about a person who bullies them and what happens to them afterwards. Oof. And it is unpleasant for about the first 30 minutes.
To try to bring it up a notch, I'm going to preface this by saying, is it bad? And I know the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. Is it bad that when you said disability romances, you know what was the first thing that came into my head?
What?
Take a wild guess of movies with disability romances.
Oh, right.
Can you think of one?
I can think of ones that have subplots where people are disabled and they happen to get into a romantic thing, and it's almost always played for laughs.
Okay, I'm just going to say the first one that popped into my head.
Okay.
wasn't Freddy Got Fingered.
Yes, that was what I was kind of guessing you were going to go. Yeah, this one.
That's let's just say that this is probably handled with more tact and grace.
Yeah, I'm going to say Ken. He's never shown me a bad anime movie yet. And I'm really glad he's showing me stuff that isn't Dragon Ball, that isn't Shonen or isn't Magical Girl. This is the slice of life anime. I think this is what I want in terms of a different storytelling medium that is way outside of what I'm used to watching. And I'm really going to recommend that Josie, the tiger and the fish right now. It's wonderfully done. So yeah, me and Ken are going to record that. It'll probably be released the week after. So it's sort of your after Valentine's Day palate cleanser. And you're just full disclosure, you're going to hear some really deep stuff on that. Like, as Ken said, Mike, after this, you're probably going to want to decompress. And he's right. So be prepared for an emotional gut punch before we get back to talking about Lorenzo Lamas and his lovely hair. So we will be talking about
and his utterly strange movies.
So it'll be a good time. We're also going to be talking, me and Alex and Aaron are talking about doing the Time Cop movie, or not Time Cop, Universal Soldier. We're talking about doing something for Fast and the Furious later on in the year when Fast X finally comes out. We'll probably do something on Transformers when that comes out closer to release in June. Maybe we'll look at the Asylum's version of the Transformers, Transmorphers. We should have a lot of really cool stuff. I know there's obviously more Earth versus Soup. I can tell you in terms of reviews for me, currently I'm starting Metroid Prime Remastered on the Nintendo Switch, which is a game I've never really got into on the GameCube. And on the Switch, I think I had it and I sold it because I'm an idiot. No, I had that for the Wii, sorry. And I also have a bunch of Hasbro stuff. I got stuff from D&D. I got tons of Transformers. I'm working on getting some more stuff in. I have some role-playing books. I'm going to be looking at one of the latest books from Dune that came out really late last year. I'm going to be contacting Modifius for more. I got more stuff from Renegade Game Studios. I know there was a Transformers adventure that just came out that came with the GM screen. And there's going to be some other cool stuff for that. I know in terms of other big things, and speaking of like kind of role play stuff before we get any farther, I have got half the campaign written for our big spring season, which is Transformers. That's going to run between 8 and 10 1-hour episodes for the year. And then Alex is running Power Rangers as kind of like a 3 to 4 hour one-off. And we should be doing that hopefully before E3, if not sooner. So the idea is to record that fairly soon-ish. And I want to talk with JT to do more Twig Sunday funnies because I've been researching the Transformer stuff. I've been going back and reading the IDW stuff. Wow, I hope someone who gets this license does a really good job because this stuff is really freaking awesome. So really looking forward to doing more with that. And that's pretty much it from me. What about you, Alex? What do you have cooking in the Ricci kitchen?
I had a couple movies come in that I'm going to be taking a look at. As far as games go, I'm pretty much in the clear after today's show. There are some indie titles popping up that we may get for review, but again, nothing concrete just yet. Like there's some stuff I'm interested in, but I'm not sure if we're getting codes for. But like as we go towards the end of the month, there's stuff that I'm going to be playing probably just for me, like Octopath Traveler 2. And if I don't have anything to like officially review during that time period, I might just do a review on that if there's nothing else, right? Because other major games coming up in February are Wild Hearts, but that's that Omega Force like Monster Hunter style game being released by EA, weirdly. Atomic Heart, I think we put in a review request for that, but I'm not sure if that's a you game or a me game. That's the Russian BioShock game.
Isn't there some weird controversy around that one? We'll have to talk about that.
Not with them. It was the studio was based in Russia.
Okay.
And the game was delayed because they couldn't get paid because there was no way to transfer money to their accounts.
Oh.
So they had to. So the company had to set up offices in an EU sponsored country, and because the workers, like, they had nothing to do with the war. They're just programmers from, and some of them are not even from Russia. You know, they're just living there. So the game finally got completed, and it's Focus Home Entertainment, I believe, is publishing it. I know we put in a review request for it a while ago, like a year ago. So if it shows up, it's a BioShock game. You're a BioShock fan, right?
I am, very much so.
So is that a you game then?
I would try it, yeah.
Okay, so if it shows up, you get first stab at it, and if you end up not liking it or not wanting to or whatever, then we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Outside of that, the other big releases are some of the VR titles, but we don't have a VR unit to do Horizon Call of the Mountain. So
I was about to say, yeah, that's something we should probably very quickly mention. Some outlets have received PlayStation VR 2. We can't afford that, straight up.
No, flat out. Like, I'll be very honest, it's $850 per unit after taxes in Canada.
That's rent for you.
That's it's not just that. That's $250 more than their consoles cost.
Yeah.
And I know the costs have gone up because of inflation and everything, but like to play one Sony title at launch and then a few other indie titles, and with the promises of more, even as a team, if we were to split that, that's a lot of money for something that we don't know is actually going to be successful. And that is something that it's not just us, that a lot of people have expressed to Sony. It's not a matter of us being cheap or not wanting to invest in the technology or not supporting the companies. That is a replacement computer. That is replacing all of our recording equipment and then some.
Yeah.
To invest in something that we don't know is going to work for everybody. Also, we review things unbiased and for as wide an audience as possible, but right now a lot of our listeners still haven't been able to either afford or find a PlayStation 5. And it's getting easier. You can pretty much find them now, but with the recession hitting, a lot of people are barely able to afford that. And if they can, that's their big purchase with their tax return money, right?
Yeah.
And then to be asked to pay more than double that to basically get invested in total, you're going to have to spend like $1,500 to get invested to play one VR launch title that's from a first-party company that is only about a 7 to 10 hour experience. As amazing as it can possibly be, you're going to get like 1% attach rate. It's not enough people for us. It's not enough listeners of ours that would justify us talking about it, because what use is it to them if they can't afford or want it?
Yeah. I mean,
so
if the price comes down, sure.
Absolutely. And that's, and that's not like, I'm not trying to speak out of turn. I'm not trying to piss off Sony. We've had discussions, and other people have had open discussions with Sony about that. You've seen the news articles where Sony tried to downplay it. They're not cutting production. They are cutting production because there's not enough demand. It's too expensive. If the headset was $299 American, $399 Canadian, it's still too much.
Yeah.
Because it costs you $650 to buy a PS5. And you could argue, well, it's more powerful than the Oculus. Yeah, but the Oculus is a self-contained unit. For $500, roughly, depending on where you get it, you don't need anything. You don't even need a computer. Whereas this costs almost double, and you need a $600 machine to run it.
Yeah.
So if we weren't in a recession or in a very tight economy, but right now, upwards of 50,000 people in the tech sector of the worldwide just got laid off. That's 50,000 less workers, and that's just the tech field. So we're in a position right now where there's a lot of people that can't afford these things. So that's why we're like, if we were to possibly receive a review unit as a loaner or something, or if even if video game stores existed that did rentals, we'd be willing to rent one for a weekend to try it out and let you know what we thought.
Yeah,
but that model doesn't exist anymore. So we're not. So if anybody ends up hitting us up with questions like, "Hey, are you guys covering this?" As of right now, we aren't, and it's not for lack of wanting to or angry at it or screw VR. It's not that. It's just not practical right now for us. you know, we're two guys that run a podcast mostly. We have other associates, but it's two guys that are you know, on fixed incomes through disability.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. It just is what it is. So
it is what it is. It looks interesting, and if it comes down in price, and if the system takes off well, and it does like really successful, and it's doing super well, and then we get a price slashed to like half the price down the line, one of us will probably pick it up.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just not at launch. We won't be covering stuff at the launch date for it. So that's why some of our content will be a little lighter, and then other releases for the rest of the month. You know, on the 24th, there's the Kirby game coming out. I might be getting a review copy of that.
That's always been your jam anyway.
Yeah. So if I do, you'd have to probably expect that review to come the first week of March, because, you know, we'll probably get it closer to launch or on launch day if we get it. And then, you know, moving on from there, we've got a few indie titles. I know we put in a request for Wolong Fallen Dynasty. That's the Team Ninja hack and slash action game. So there's that. And then I think you wanted me to, I put in a request for Fatal Frame for you.
Okay. Yeah, that was a lot of fun when I played.
Fatal Frame Mask of the Lunar Eclipse. That's I think the next game in the series or something.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that might be coming for you. And then let me see here. Then we're in the middle of March, so we'll know as we get closer to that. But yeah, the reason that our review content might be a little light for the end of February is some of the games coming out, or any of the major games at the end of the month, are mostly either VR enhanced titles, VR indie titles, or Call of the Mountain, which is the Horizon first party big budget VR title. So we won't be covering that.
That's just kind of the way things are. So speaking of the way things are, it is time to close out the show this week. So hopefully you've had a fantastic voyage with us here on the show. Lots of good stuff from me, Aaron, Alex, and Ken. We'll get JT back on the show sooner as opposed to later. So until next time, folks, for This Week in Geek, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike, the Birdman, saying have yourselves a fantastic Valentine's Day. And if you don't, you know what you can do for Birdman? Just be excellent to each other. We'll catch you guys again next time, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.